Chapter 3004. The Moon Shadow Estate is so strong, why would they need to hide in a cave? Are they planning to catch us off guard when we pass by? Night Sorrow explained the situation in the distance, and Master Wan Jian mocked. They really don't deserve to be in the top 5. In his opinion, cultivators should fight with real swords and spears. There was no point in cowering. The leader of the Moon Shadow Estate is Fairy Yu Yen. She's a woman, so she might be more meticulous than us. Xiao Tianxian said, then looked at Night Sorrow and said, Night Sorrow, what do you think we should do? Should we sneak up and ambush them? They must have felt that the Heaven Monarch Realm's territory had advanced to the next level. Furthermore, the Heaven Monarch Realm's territory defeated us very quickly. They must be afraid that the Heaven Monarch Realm's territory would enter the public area between the two regions first and set up some traps. Night Sorrow observed for a while and said his judgment. Since they're worried that the Heaven Lord Estate will set up a trap, they'll definitely make use of that mountain peak. This way, it won't be easy for us to ambush them. Murong Guides glanced at the mountain peak, but he didn't have the sea serpent's eye and could only see the vague outline of the mountain peak. At this time, Yishang thought for a moment and said, I think everyone shouldn't think too much. If I were to challenge Fairy Yuan, I would be able to defeat her. If I challenge her, she'll definitely accept it. As long as I defeat her, the Moon Shadow Estate will have lost half of their forces. Originally, he wanted to lead the people of the Heavenly Realm to ambush the Moon Shadow Estate. But after thinking about it, Night Sorrow felt that Murong Guides made sense. The Moon Shadow Estate must have done something on the mountain peak. If they fought with the Moon Shadow Estate cultivators on the mountain peak, they wouldn't have a good ending. You and Fairy Yu Yen fight? That's a good idea. As long as Fairy Yu Yen is defeated, they won't hide in there anymore. After hearing Night Sorrow's words, Master Wan Jian immediately supported him. At this moment, Wu Lingfei said worriedly, Night Sorrow, are you confident? After all, Fairy Yu Yen is ranked in the top 10 in the battle for Providence. I'm confident. I don't think there's a single sovereign in the eternal Paragon world who can suppress me. Night Sorrow said confidently. Now that he had become an upper-level dominator, he was only a step away from becoming a half-step supreme. Under these circumstances, he was confident that he could defeat all of the sovereigns. Isn't that the number 1 sovereign of the eternal Paragon realm? After Night Sorrow finished speaking, Wu Lingfei said with a smile. After everyone heard this, they didn't feel that there was anything wrong with it. They all laughed. At this moment, Night Sorrow continued, in terms of strength alone, I'm no weaker than any of the eternal sovereigns. However, the top 4 territories definitely have many trump cards that we don't know about. Therefore, I'm not sure if I can defeat the strongest of the 4 great holy lands. It's already not easy for you to reach where you are today even though you were born in the divine realm. Don't compare it to the 4 great holy lands. After hearing Night Sorrow's words, Master Wan Jian smiled and continued, if you're sure, then I'll go and challenge you. No need, I'll do it myself. Night Sorrow patted Master Wan Jian's shoulder and said, I'll go and fight in a while. You guys be ready to fight at any time. But the sword in my hand is already starting to heat up, Master Wan Jian said, full of fighting spirit. After everyone was ready, Night Sorrow slowly flew toward the mountain peak where the Moon Shadow Estate was located. After flying for a distance, Night Sorrow used Dragon Roar and shouted toward the mountain peak, Yu Yen. In the square, I once said that you and I will definitely fight. Now that I'm here to accept the challenge, where are you? Isn't this Night Sorrow? Could it be that the divine realm eliminated the Heavenly Lord Estate? After Night Sorrow shouted, everyone in the Moon Shadow Estate looked at the people around them in surprise. Even Fairy Yu Yen couldn't believe her ears. However, very quickly, Night Sorrow shouted the same words again. In addition, the sentries outside came in to report. Only then did everyone in the Moon Shadow Estate completely confirm that the one who appeared was indeed Night Sorrow. This proved that the divine realm had indeed eliminated the Heavenly Lord Estate. How did they eliminate the Heavenly Lord Estate? This is too unbelievable. After confirming that the divine realm had eliminated the Heavenly Lord Estate, Yu Hua, The deputy leader of the Moon Shadow Estate frowned and said, no matter what, he couldn't think of how the Divine Realm had won. After all, when they first met, the Divine Realm Estate was so inconspicuous. At this time, Fairy Yu Yen, who was originally sitting on a stone chair, slowly stood up. She guessed, I think it should be this Night Sorrow who suppressed young Master Ling Tian of the Heavenly Lord Estate and eliminated the Heavenly Lord Estate through a bet. Otherwise, he definitely wouldn't dare to challenge me. That should be the case. Fairy Yu Yen, will you go out and fight, or will our Yu Ling estate swarm forward? Yu Hua asked with a face full of fighting spirit. If the opponent was the Heavenly Lord Estate, he wouldn't be worried. But now, the opponent was the Divine Realm Estate, which was unimaginable. This made him feel very awkward and he didn't know how to fight. Of course I'll go out and fight. Fairy Yu Yan's name is not for nothing. Fairy Yu Yan said coldly, then continued, but I won't agree to any of his conditions for the battle. It's impossible for their territory in the divine world to sneak past our Moon Shadow Estate. Fairy Yu Yan is wise. Then let us wish Fairy victory in advance. After Fairy Yu Yan finished speaking, many cultivators of the Moon Shadow Estate hurriedly cheered for her. Then, Fairy Yu Yan took a step forward and appeared outside the cave. After she appeared, the others of the Moon Shadow Estate also walked out of the cave and stood on the mountain peak. In their opinion, the Heavenly Lord Estate needed to be well guarded. As for the Divine Realm Estate in front of them, it was not a threat at all. There was no need to use the prepared trap at all. Night Sorrow, you want to fight with me, I'll satisfy you. But don't mention the fearless bet. I won't be like young Master Ling Tian and fall for your trick. In an instant, Fairy Yu Yan held two crescent-shaped battle blades in her hands and leaped into the void to look at Night Sorrow. What trick? Hearing Fairy Yu Yan's words, Night Sorrow was completely confused. You know the answer. If you didn't win young Master Ling Tian through the bet, how could your Divine Realm Estate eliminate the Heavenly Lord Estate? Fairy Yu Yan said disdainfully. Unreasonable. You'd better use the battle blades in your hands to do the talking. Night Sorrow said indifferently. He felt that he didn't need to explain anything to her. I was right, wasn't I? Although I have the confidence to defeat you, I won't promise you anything. Fairy Yu Yan said with a cold smile and threw the battle blades in her hands into the void. Genius memorized this site's address in a second. Human mobile version reading website. Chapter 3005. You really have a persecutory delusion. Why would I need to scheme against you? I'll just defeat you directly. Facing Fairy Yu Yan's attack, Night Sorrow snorted calmly and waved his golden heavenly halberd to defend himself. He successfully blocked her attack. The Heavenly Monarch territory was completely defeated and scared away by him. There was no scheme at all. At this moment, he did not want to bet with her. Instead, he wanted to severely injure her severely and damage the Moon Shadow Estate's morale. Furthermore, the Moon Shadow Estate had lost their strongest person, Fairy Yu Yan. Their strength would definitely be greatly reduced. The Realm of God's chances of winning would also increase because of this. You have some strength. No wonder you could defeat young Master Ling Tian. But it's not enough to defeat me with such strength. Fairy Yu Yan did look like a fairy in a fluttering dress. However, when it came to battle, she instantly turned into a female leopard. She fiercely threw out two crescent blades and threw them into the void. Then, she took out a 3-foot short sword from her spatial artifact. When the two blades rose to a height of 10,000 feet, they shot green cylindrical flames at Night Sorrow below. Fairy Yu Yan's figure flashed as well. Together with the two pillars of light, she attacked Yi Chang. Green flames? Seeing the two fire pillars shooting at him, Night Sorrow immediately used the void transition technique to dodge 1,000 feet away. After he created his movement technique, he was more and more familiar with it. He was almost at the point of perfection. Die! However, just as Night Sorrow dodged, Fairy Yu Yan, whose movement technique was equally outstanding, caught up with him. Using her short sword, she slashed at the back of Night Sorrow's broad neck with a whoosh. Good sword. It's tricky. When Fairy Yu Yan slashed with her sword, a thought flashed through Night Sorrow's mind. He immediately used the Divine Essence Trap Array. He locked his opponent in a narrow space and dodged the attack at the same time. What kind of move is this? Fairy Yu Yen was surprised to be locked in the enclosed space of the Divine Essence Trap Array. Then, she used her short sword to attack the barrier in front of her. Forbidden Spear! At the same time, Night Sorrow suddenly fired a shot into the sealed space. This shot did not contain many attributes or rules, but it was fast, accurate, and ruthless. The killing power was extremely strong. After piercing through the barrier, it went straight for Fairy Yuan's neck. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. Very good. It seems like I'll have to use some tricks to fight you. Fairy Yuan, who did not break out of the formation immediately, summoned a copper lock without hesitation. He silently chanted the incantation. After she recited the incantation, Night Sorrow immediately felt that the space around Fairy Yuan was completely locked down. His attack landed squarely on a layer of solid barrier. When it was less than an inch away from Fairy Yuan's neck, it was completely blocked. Spatial Lock Retract. After blocking Night Sorrow's attack, Fairy Yuan immediately put away the spatial lock and summoned the 2 full moon blades outside to attack the sealed space. In an instant, the Divine Essence trapping formation was broken. Fire Beacon City. After escaping, Fairy Yuan's expression became much more serious. Without further ado, she took out a scroll from her spatial Dharma artifact and threw it into the void. Night Sorrow immediately saw that his surroundings were burning with smoke. This smoke seems to be poisonous. Fairy Yuan had just released the fire beacon painting when Night Sorrow felt a little dizzy, and all his senses were blinded. Soon, even his eyes could not see anything clearly. Sea Serpent Eye, activate. At this moment, Night Sorrow immediately activated the Sea Serpent Eye and observed the situation around him. The Sea Serpent Eye, which could see through illusions, could not see through the fire beacon painting in front of him. This painting is not simple. It's definitely one of the secret treasures of the Moon Shadow Estate. Unable to see through the fire beacon painting, and without any secret treasures to break it, Night Sorrow could not think of a countermeasure. In an instant, he stood rooted to the ground as if he had lost all his senses. This Night Sorrow is definitely going to lose. Without any secret treasures, he obviously can't break the fire beacon painting of our Moon Shadow Estate. Seeing that Night Sorrow was trapped by Fairy Yuan's fire beacon painting, the vice chief of the Moon Shadow Estate, Yu Hua, immediately revealed a smug smile. The other vice chief of the Sky Shadow Estate, Yu Miao, praised. This painting was originally prepared by our Moon Shadow Estate for the geniuses of the 4 great sacred lands. Who would have thought that it would be used on Night Sorrow in advance? Even if he loses, he should be proud of it. Indeed. Who would have thought that this Night Sorrow could actually force Fairy Yuan into such a state in such a short period of time? Yu Hua nodded, acknowledging Night Sorrow's strength. As for the Divine World Estate, they were all worried. At this moment, Night Sorrow stood motionless on the spot, looking like a puppet that had lost control. As for Fairy Yuan, she had already used a pair of blades to prepare a very powerful attack. Boom! By the time Fairy Yuan unleashed this move, Yishang was already unable to react. His body was directly bombarded. After being hit by this move, Night Sorrow was sent flying uncontrollably like a leaf being swept away by a gust of wind. Night Sorrow. Seeing that Night Sorrow was sent flying, concubine Wu Lingfei immediately exclaimed. The other people in the Divine World Estate also became nervous. But soon, Night Sorrow slowly stood up. Because his body was tough enough, he wasn't seriously injured. After being sent flying, Night Sorrow closed his eyes and thought to himself, although I can't perceive her attack clearly, it's very likely that she launched it from the front. She knows that my perception is blocked, so there's no need to be sloppy. She must have attacked from the closest distance. Night Sorrow, whose eyes were closed, could actually summon the chaotic heavenly crystal beast to fight with him at this moment. However, the other party didn't summon her battle pet, and he didn't intend to either, so he gave up on this idea. He closed his eyes and continued to wait for the other party's attack to arrive. Boom! As expected, a moment later, Fairy Yuan once again sent Night Sorrow flying. This time, Night Sorrow's injuries were obviously more serious. Seeing this, the people in the Divine World Estate already wanted to help. However, Night Sorrow recovered for a moment and stood up again. You actually have such a tough body that you can withstand 2 of my moves in a row. But this is as far as you can go. Seeing that Night Sorrow stood up again, a cold smile appeared on Fairy Yuan's face. She roared coldly, "Die! Great Moonlight!" Fairy Yuan came from the Moon Shadow Estate, and the Moon Shadow Estate was named after the moon. Their ultimate skills were all related to the moon. After she finished roaring, a cold ray of moonlight shot out from between her eyebrows. The moonlight didn't look very thick, but the terrifying energy waves made everyone in the Divine World Estate tense up. If it weren't for Xiao Tianxian and the 10,000 Swords sect stopping her, concubine Wu Lingfei would have definitely stepped in to help. Clan M. Chapter 3006. Night Sorrow will definitely die. Our Moon Shadow Estate's secret treasure, the fire and smoke diagram, can block all cultivators' senses. He won't be able to tell that Yu Yen has already used her ultimate killing move. Seeing Fairy Yu Yen use her strongest move, Supreme Yu Ling, who was watching from the outside, instantly heaved a sigh of relief. Although the battle between Night Sorrow and Fairy Yu Yen was short, she could already tell that Night Sorrow had already suppressed Fairy Yu Yan's strength. Hence, she was alarmed and frightened. At this moment, she relaxed. The other Supremes who had enmity with the godly realm instantly smiled with anticipation when they heard Supreme Yu Ling's words. All of them focused their gazes on the moonlight that Fairy Yu Yen shot out. As the saying goes, once, twice, but not thrice. You attacked 3 times in a row and didn't change your position. Aren't you underestimating me, Night Sorrow? At this moment, Night Sorrow didn't open his eyes. However, after he got up, he immediately activated the Treastrimsa Heaven's Battle Mystic technique and suddenly shot out the Thunder Reincarnation Spear in the direction he judged. This Thunder Reincarnation Spear was obviously different from the one he used when he was a middle-level dominator. It contained more Earth Supreme nomological laws. At the same time that he shot out this attack, Night Sorrow immediately roared the Gentle Dragon Roar. After the Thunder Reincarnation Spear was shot out, it immediately broke Fairy Yu Yan's strongest move. The Gentle Dragon Roar that followed directly injured Fairy Yu Yan's Divine Soul. After her Divine Soul was injured, Fairy Yu Yan lost control of the fire and smoke diagram in an instant, and Night Sorrow also broke free. After reopening his eyes, Night Sorrow wasn't willing to give Yu Yen another chance to use the fire and smoke diagram. In a flash, he shot out the Thunder Reincarnation Spear at her again. Night Sorrow could shoot out the Thunder Reincarnation Spear again in an instant, but Yu Yen didn't have the ability to use the Great Moonlight technique at all and didn't know how to block it. Hence, she summoned the Space Lock again to defend against this move. Boom. This time, Yi Shan's attack failed again, but he had succeeded in closing the distance between the two of them. He took the opportunity to execute the Divine Essence Trapping Formation, locking them in the same small space and engaging in close combat. Fairy Yuan, who was trapped in the Divine Essence Trapping Array, was not strong in close combat compared to opponents of the same level. Furthermore, her Divine Essence was injured. How could she be a match for Night Sorrow? She was quickly suppressed. Night Sorrow. Good job. Seeing that Night Sorrow had managed to suppress the number 1 person of the Moon Shadow Estate, Fairy Yu Yen, despite being heavily injured, the 10,000 Swords sect could not help but roar in anger. Just now, when Yi Shang was being suppressed, he was like Wu Lingfei, suppressing his desire to attack. At this moment, the gloominess in his heart was completely dispelled. Xiao Tianxian, who was beside the 10,000 Sword sect, also breathed a sigh of relief. As for Wu Lingfei, she didn't dare to relax. She was worried that Fairy Yuan still had other tricks up her sleeve, and her worries quickly became reality. After being completely suppressed, Fairy Yuan roared unwillingly, "Moon Spirit Battle Pet, come out." Halt. After Fairy Yuan finished her roar, a huge Supreme Battle Pet immediately appeared in the enclosed space. After this battle pet appeared, it immediately used its huge body to directly open the enclosed space. Then this moon spirit battle pet expanded to the size of a mountain in the void. With a ferocious roar, it threw a punch at Night Sorrow. You really have a lot of tricks up your sleeve. When the moon spirit battle pet threw a punch at Night Sorrow could tell that this moon spirit battle pet was an upper-level supreme. It was much stronger than the chaotic heavenly crystal beast. Therefore, Night Sorrow did not summon the chaotic heavenly crystal beast immediately. Instead, he raised his hand and fired a shot, using his tiny body to withstand the blow from the sky. At the same time, he formed a seal with his left hand and threw a palm strike at Fairy Yuan, who was cooperating with the moon spirit battle pet. Boom! Boom! After 2 consecutive loud bangs, Fairy Yuan was directly sent flying by Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow and the moon spirit battle pet, on the other hand, were both knocked back a certain distance by the recoil. This Night Sorrow's senses were blinded by the fire and smoke picture, but he still managed to persevere. At this moment, he defeated the upper-level moon spirit battle pet. This is simply unbelievable. Seeing that Night Sorrow was actually so dauntless, Moon Shadow's deputy chief, Moon Hua, said in disbelief. On the side, Yuan said, "Everyone, get ready to attack. We can't just watch Fairy Yuan be defeated or even killed. Everyone, get ready to attack." Moon Hua also gave the order. Hearing this, everyone from the Moon Shadow estate condensed their divine domains, ready to attack at any time. Everyone, get ready to attack. Those from the Moon Shadow estate can't hold back anymore. Seeing that everyone from the Moon Shadow estate had condensed their divine domains, Xiao Tianxian immediately instructed. However, just when both sides were eager to give it a try, Fairy Yuan said coldly, "Don't panic. Night Sorrow is no match for me and the Moon Spirit Battle Pet." With that said, Fairy Yuan flew to the Moon Spirit Battle Pet's head, cut her fingertip with a short sword, and dripped her blood on the Moon Spirit Battle Pet's horn. After absorbing a few drops of blood, the Moon Spirit Battle Pet's horn gradually turned blood red. After the Moon Spirit Battle Pet's horn turned blood red, it roared crazily and then went berserk. Its strength was improved by another half a level, reaching the peak of the celestial state. I don't believe that you can withstand the attack of a peak celestial state. After the Moon Spirit Battle Pet's strength was improved, Fairy Yuan looked at Night Sorrow with cold eyes. At this moment, she was standing on the head of the Moon Spirit Battle Pet, relying solely on the Moon Spirit Battle Pet to attack Night Sorrow. She was no longer attacking. Whether or not I can withstand it, we'll know after we try. Facing Fairy Yuan, who was controlling the Moon Spirit Battle Pet, Night Sorrow didn't panic at all. The battle pet in front of him was strong, but he wasn't completely powerless. What Night Sorrow was afraid of was the fire and smoke diagram, but it was obvious that Fairy Yuan couldn't use it for the time being. Otherwise, she would have used it long ago. Moon Spirit Battle Pet, tear him apart. Fairy Yuan ordered coldly after Night Sorrow spoke. Upon receiving the order, the Moon Spirit Battle Pet immediately attacked Night Sorrow ferociously. "Hundun, come out and fight with me." In the face of a peak celestial state Moon Spirit Battle Pet, Night Sorrow didn't dare to be careless. He immediately summoned the chaotic heavenly crystal beast. At this moment, the chaotic heavenly crystal beast was already an intermediate celestial state, but it was definitely weaker than Yu Ling's battle pet. We don't seem to be its match. This guy is probably comparable to the holy spirits on the 32nd level. After being summoned, the chaotic heavenly crystal beast said in horror. It can't maintain this kind of combat power forever. As long as we wear it out in this state, we will definitely win. Night Sorrow said fearlessly. Then, holding the golden heavenly halberd, he leaped onto the chaotic heavenly crystal beast's head. Clan M. Chapter 3007. Although the chaotic heavenly crystal beast was not as strong as the Moon Spirit Battle Pet in front of him, its size was not inferior at all. Standing on this behemoth, Night Sorrow and Fairy Yuan instantly reached the same height. The difference was that he was the main force of the battle at this moment, while Fairy Yu Yen was completely relying on the Moon Spirit Battle Pet. What a good battle! The people of the Divine Realm and Moon Shadow territories, as well as the Celestials watching from the outside world, were all watching the battle nervously. At this moment, Feng Wuji suddenly appeared on the deck and said with interest, "Sir, who do you think will win?" After Feng Wuji appeared, Dao Wui asked carefully. He gradually felt that he could not see through Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow is stronger than Fairy Yu Yen, but the Moon Spirit Battle Pet is stronger than Night Sorrow's Battle Pet. It's hard to say who will win this battle. Feng Wuji said and continued, "If you want to know the result, just continue watching." Dao Wui nodded and continued to watch. At the same time as Dao Wui nodded, Night Sorrow was already standing on the head of the chaotic heavenly crystal beast and suddenly shot out a reincarnation spear art. This spear went straight for Fairy Yu Yan's divine ocean. Moon Spirit Battle Pet. Seeing that Night Sorrow's attack was going straight for her divine ocean, Fairy Yu Yen did not attack herself. Instead, she ordered the Moon Spirit Battle Pet. The Moon Spirit Battle Pet, which received the order, immediately roared and stretched out a palm, slapping towards Night Sorrow and his golden heavenly halberd. Even though Night Sorrow blasted out a huge light with his golden heavenly halberd, it was still very small compared to the Moon Spirit Battle Pet. However, in the face of the Moon Spirit Battle Pet's huge palm, Night Sorrow did not panic. He did not believe that the other party's palm could be harder than his golden heavenly halberd. He roared, "If you like to fight head-on, then come. I'll help you." Although the chaotic heavenly crystal beast was obviously not as strong as the Moon Spirit Battle Pet, its ferocity was also stimulated after the battle began. After sending a voice transmission to Night Sorrow, he waved his tentacles and attacked Fairy Yuan. When Night Sorrow and the Moon Spirit Battle Pet clashed, its tentacles continuously whipped the Moon Spirit Battle Pet's head. However, the Moon Spirit Battle Pet's horn emitted a faint glow. The glow seemed weak, but it blocked all the chaotic heavenly crystal beast's attacks. Fairy Yuan did not move at all. Night Sorrow, who had suffered a small loss when fighting against the Moon Spirit Battle Pet, but his golden heavenly halberd was not damaged, was certain that he could not move at all when Fairy Yuan was controlling the Moon Spirit Battle Pet. Boom! While Night Sorrow was pondering, Moon Spirit's attack landed on the chaotic heavenly crystal beast's tentacle. It staggered from the impact. However, the Moon Spirit Battle Pet didn't stop after its successful attack. It seized the opportunity to grab one of the chaotic heavenly crystal beast's tentacles and threw it into the void. Then, it used the horn on its head to shoot out a ray of terrifying moonlight. Night Sorrow, save me. This guy's attack is too powerful. I'm no match for it. Seeing the terrifying moonlight shooting toward it, the chaotic heavenly crystal beast immediately roared for help. "Don't worry, I'm here." At this moment, Night Sorrow suddenly roared. After thinking for a moment, he felt that there was only one way to save the chaotic heavenly crystal beast at this moment, and that was to attack the way to rescue the Zhao. Without hesitation, he once again used the golden heavenly halberd to shoot out the thunder reincarnation spear at Fairy Yuan, who was above the Moon Spirit Battle Pet's head. It also broke the light from the Moon Spirit Battle Pet's horn. "Moon Spirit Battle Pet, save me." Fairy Yuan immediately shouted anxiously when Night Sorrow broke the protective light from the Moon Spirit Battle Pet's horn. The Moon Spirit Battle Pet, which was originally attacking the chaotic heavenly crystal beast, immediately controlled the light it shot out and gave up on attacking the chaotic heavenly crystal beast. Instead, it shot at Night Sorrow. After this ray of light shot out, it immediately sent Night Sorrow flying. What a powerful attack! However, we've already found your weakness. Fairy Yuan, wait for your death. Night Sorrow was attacked by the Moon Spirit Battle Pet, but he was not seriously injured. After catching his breath, he sent a voice transmission to the chaotic heavenly crystal beast. Fairy Yuan can't move at all at this moment. She's a complete burden. We're basically 2 against 1. This Moon Spirit Battle Pet can't handle it. But I really can't withstand its attack. The chaotic heavenly crystal beast said helplessly. Although it did not retreat this time, it could not withstand the Moon Spirit Battle Pet's attack at all. Then leave it to me. You deal with the immobile Fairy Yuan. After saying that, Night Sorrow took out a divine evasion talisman from his spatial dermic artifact to increase his speed. Then, he took out a few offensive divine talismans. They blasted towards Fairy Yuan from all directions. Got it. Seeing Night Sorrow throw out divine talismans consecutively, the chaotic heavenly crystal beast's eyes lit up. It controlled its many tentacles to attack Fairy Yuan. It did not use its full strength in its attack. It was completely harassing and did not fight head-on with the Moon Spirit Battle Pet. After Night Sorrow and the chaotic heavenly crystal beast cooperated to attack, Fairy Yuan's face immediately showed signs of difficulty. Although the Moon Spirit Battle Pet was telepathically connected to her, it was still badly harassed. Night Sorrow's attacks also began to become both real and illusory, making it difficult for them to figure out what was real and what was not. After 100 breaths of time, Fairy Yuan suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. The Moon Spirit Battle Pet's aura also dropped to the upper supreme level again. Its strength has dropped. I might be able to fight it now. Seeing that the Moon Spirit Battle Pet's aura had dropped to the upper supreme level and was very chaotic, the chaotic heavenly crystal beast immediately shouted. The chaotic heavenly crystal beast immediately let out a loud roar. Although it was an intermediate supremacy, it had absorbed a large amount of earthly supremacy's laws of nature and essence, so its battle prowess was almost equivalent to an upper supremacy's. After roaring, it completely exploded and attacked the Moon Spirit Battle Pet. At this moment, Night Sorrow did not deal with the Moon Spirit Battle Pet. Instead, he attacked Fairy Yuan, who could already move. After fighting for a while, Fairy Yuan said unwillingly, "I didn't expect you to have grown to this extent. However, your personal victory does not represent the territory's victory. Warriors of the Moon Shadow Estate, kill him." Kill. Moonfire and the other two deputy chiefs of the Moon Shadow Estate immediately led their men and charged forward. They wanted to help Fairy Yuan besiege Night Sorrow. At this moment, the Myriad Sword Sect, Wu Lingfei, and the others, who could no longer hold back, also rushed into the void one after another. Today, the Divine Realm will win, and you will be the first to fall. Night Sorrow looked back at the people of the Divine Realm and roared confidently. Then, he used the Void Transition technique again and waved the Golden Heavenly Halberd to pursue Fairy Yuan. On the other side, the chaotic Heavenly Crystal Beast and the Moon Spirit Battle Pet were fighting crazily. "Let's go help the fairy." Seeing that Fairy Yuan was being chased by Night Sorrow in a sorry state, the two deputy chiefs of the Moon Shadow Estate all rushed over to help. You came at the right time. Fighting 1 against 3, Night Sorrow did not panic. Instead, he began to explode completely. Chapter 3008. 1 against 3, and you still dare to boast so shamelessly. You are really courting death. Night Sorrow faced Fairy Yu Yen and the two deputy leaders of the Moon Shadow Estate, Yu Miao and Yu Hua, alone. He was still as domineering as ever. Yu Miao immediately shouted angrily and shot a dazzling arrow at Night Sorrow. This arrow carried with it a clear and cold moonlight, as well as a chilling intent. At the same time, Yu Hua also cooperated with Yu Miao and launched a sneak attack on Night Sorrow from the side. Fairy Yuan, who had been slightly injured, took the opportunity to swallow 3 crystal-clear elixirs that contained dense mist. You are the one courting death. I, Night Sorrow, am not someone you can stop. At this moment, Night Sorrow formed a seal with his left hand and caught the arrow shot by Yu Hua. Then he threw it at Yu Hua, who was attacking him. After using the arrow to neutralize Yu Miao's attack, Night Sorrow held the Golden Heavenly Halberd and shot the Forbidden Spear at Yu Miao. This spear contained more earthly sovereign essence than before. In comparison, the forbidden attribute was not as outstanding. Not good. Yu Miao, quickly crush the identity token. He is not someone you can fight against. Fairy Yu Yen, who had just swallowed the elixir, saw Night Sorrow attacking Yu Miao and immediately shouted. As the proud daughter of the Moon Shadow Estate, she was fully equipped with the best equipment. However, she was no match for Night Sorrow in a head-on battle, let alone Yu Miao. What? Yu Miao was shocked when he heard Fairy Yu Yan's reminder. However, It was too late for him to take the identity token. I will kill you. After Yu Hua roared, Night Sorrow directly pierced through the void with his spear. This spear pierced through Yu Miao's elixir field and grabbed his spirit sea. Let him go! Fairy Yu Yen suddenly shouted when Night Sorrow was about to crush Yu Miao's spirit. Let him go and enslave him? Night Sorrow looked at Fairy Yu Yen and said coldly. This Fairy Yu Yen was definitely not a kind person. Hence, he was not prepared to show mercy. If you let him go, I will give you the fire beacon smoke diagram. Fairy Yu Yen hesitated for a moment before speaking. After saying that, she was afraid that Night Sorrow didn't understand, so she explained, the fire beacon smoke diagram is the picture scroll that is blocking your perception. Fairy, you can't. No matter what, we can't give the fire beacon smoke map to him. Hearing Fairy Yu Yen's words, Yu Miao immediately roared. Fairy, the fire and beacon smoke diagram is a secret treasure bestowed by the higher-ups. You absolutely cannot give it away. The other deputy chief of the Moon Shadow Estate, Yu Hua, also advised. Shut up. Fairy Yu Yen scolded the two and continued to look at Night Sorrow. How about it? Do you dare to trade? Yes. Swear an oath to the heavens. Night Sorrow thought for a while and said indifferently. He guessed that Fairy Yu Yen was plotting something, but he was not afraid at all. Could Yen swear? After Yu Yen swore, he immediately took out the fire beacon smoke diagram and threw it at Night Sorrow. Go back. After receiving the fire beacon smoke diagram, Night Sorrow directly used the power of merit to seal it and threw it into the grotto heaven. He did not even look at it. Then he once again attacked Yu Hua with his spear. Quick! Use the 9 moons chain formation. At this moment, Fairy Yu Yen suddenly roared. But yes! When Yu Miao and Yu Hua heard this, they immediately cooperated with Fairy Yu Yen and attacked Night Sorrow. The three of them each released 2 clones and joined forces to neutralize Night Sorrow's attack. Although the fire beacon smoke diagram is incomparably precious, if we don't exchange it for you, we won't be able to use the 9 moons chain formation. If that happens, our Moon Shadow Estate will lose. This is unacceptable. I'm doing this to cut my losses. After helping Yu Miao block Night Sorrow's attack, Fairy Yu Yen mocked Night Sorrow and said, Today, you coveted the fire and beacon smoke diagram. You can obtain a secret treasure, but you will ruin the victory in your hands. Let's fight again. She's a woman who is decisive, but you overestimated your own strength. Soon, you will understand that you went for wool and came home shorn. After saying this, Night Sorrow activated the sea serpent's eye and waved the golden heavenly halberd in his hand again. At this moment, Myriad Sword Sect, Wu Lingfei, and the rest were fighting against 40 people. Although there were no top experts among the 40 people, they were still under a lot of pressure. Hence, he did not want to delay any longer. 9 moons chain formation. New moon. At this moment, Fairy Yu Yen did not waste any more time. She shouted loudly and cooperated with Yu Miao and Yu Hua to attack Night Sorrow with a unique skill. Their cooperation was very similar to the joint attack formation of the Realm of Gods. However, there were only 3 real bodies and the other 6 were clones. Hence, 3 of the attacks were very powerful, but the other 6 attacks were much weaker in comparison. Night Sorrow, who had activated the Sea Serpent's Eye, observed for a while and discovered this problem. He used the Void Transition technique to continuously dodge the real body's attacks and break the 6 clones' attacks one by one, successfully breaking their attack. After that, Night Sorrow attacked Yu Miao again. The strange thing was that the current Yu Miao seemed as if her Dantian was not injured and was very fierce in battle. Moreover, Yu Yen and Yu Hua had become one with him. The 3 people and 6 clones advanced and retreated in unison. It was very difficult for Night Sorrow to break them one by one. When he attacked Yu Miao, Yu Yen and Yu Hua would immediately cooperate and attack him. Moreover, their attacks were obviously enhanced by the formation, increasing their combat strength by a lot. Her Dantian is broken and she can still fight in her peak state. What kind of secret technique is she using? Night Sorrow thought curiously while fighting with them. However, just as this thought flashed through his mind, He threw it to the back of his mind and thought about how to break the formation. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow immediately used the soft dragon roar and launched a soul attack on the three of them. However, this move did not have a very obvious effect. It's not that easy to break through our defense. Night Sorrow's continuous attacks did not yield any results, so Fairy Yu Yen immediately ridiculed him. Then she continued, 9 moons chain formation, full moon. In an instant, above the 3 people and 6 clones, they were all enveloped by a pillar of light that reached the sky. Then, these rays of light all fused together, forming an incomparably huge full moon in the void. After this full moon appeared, it immediately shot out rays of cold moonlight at Night Sorrow. We can't continue this stalemate. At this moment, Night Sorrow used his soul power to investigate the situation of the others. Although Wu Lingfei and the others had the advantage in terms of individual strength, they were helpless because there were too many of them. They had already been suppressed by the other party and were retreating together. The anxious Night Sorrow faced the endless moonlight and directly threw out the golden heavenly halberd. Soon, the golden heavenly halberd turned into a line and shot towards the full moon in the void. Genius remembered this site's address in a second. Human mobile version reading website. Chapter 3009. After the golden heavenly halberd was thrown out, it immediately traversed the void and hit the full moon. Boom! After the full moon was hit by the golden heavenly halberd, it immediately shattered into 9 pieces. The 9 light pillars returned to the bodies of the 3 people and 6 shadows. You guys are all bark and no bite. After retrieving the golden heavenly halberd, even Night Sorrow felt a little surprised that the other party's move was so easily broken. Not good. Although I used a secret technique, Yu Miao can't hold on anymore. The full moon was broken. Fairy Yu Yan's expression immediately changed. Yu Miao used a secret technique to forcefully recover his dantian in a short period of time, but that was a heaven-defying action after all and could not last long. Fairy, what should we do then? When Yu Hua heard this, he immediately looked at Yu Miao worriedly and realized that he could not hold on anymore. But even standing was difficult. Meet up with the others and use the advantage of numbers. In terms of individual combat power, Night Sorrow should not be inferior to those geniuses of the 4 great sacred lands. We can only rely on our collective strength to win. Fairy Yu Yen said helplessly. At this point in the battle, she no longer had the courage to face Night Sorrow alone. Those words of wanting to take Night Sorrow as a slave had also become a contemptible joke. After sending a voice transmission to Yu Hua, Fairy Yu Yen sent a voice transmission to Yu Miao. I understand that you have tried your best. Enter my space grotto heaven. With me here, I will protect you. In fact, Yu Miao could use the identity token, but he felt that it was useful to stay. Fairy, I am useless. At this moment, Yu Miao was completely defeated. Although he was unwilling, he could no longer gather divine essence power. Let's go and meet up with the others. Fairy Yu Yen kept Yu Miao in her space grotto heaven and immediately wanted to escape to meet up with the others from Sky Shadow Estate. However, how could Night Sorrow let them do as they wished so easily? He immediately used his movement technique and chased after them. Soon, he blocked Fairy Yu Yen and Yu Miao. Seeing that she could not break through Night Sorrow's blockade, Fairy Yu Yan's face immediately revealed a trace of despair. She had never thought that the unremarkable Night Sorrow back then could raise his strength so much in the battle for Providence. Looks like the Moon Shadow Estate is doomed and will soon be eliminated. Seeing this, Feng Wuji, who was watching from the outside, said teasingly, Master Wuji, the duel is not over yet. Our Moon Shadow Estate still has a chance. The moment she heard those words, Supreme Yu Ling replied indignantly, Oh, what other special methods does your Moon Shadow Estate have? Feng Wuji asked coldly. Yu Yen is the holy maiden of my Moon Shadow Estate. Supreme Yu Ling said slowly. Feng Wuji's brows raised when he heard this, and he said, So that's how it is. But isn't your Moon Shadow Estate paying a huge price for rashly utilizing that move? For victory. In order to stop the Heavenly Realm's territory. I believe that Yu Yen and the others would make the same choice. Other than that, our Moon Shadow Estate has no other means to fight against the God Realm's territories. The Firmament's territory has managed to hold on for so long without losing a single person. They're no longer the same fish on the chopping block as before. Supreme Yuling's tone was icy cold as she looked at the people of the Moon Shadow region with a fervent gaze. Then, under their watchful eyes, Night Sorrow injured Fairy Yu Yen once again, and Yu Hua's arm was torn off. The two people who were intercepted were in a pitiful state. Fairy, we're really no match for him. Why don't we use that move? After being sent flying consecutively, Yu Hua had already lost the confidence to fight against Night Sorrow. He suddenly sent a voice transmission to Fairy Yu Miao. I'd rather give up on the battle for Providence than do that. When Fairy Yu Miao heard that, her eyes were instantly shrouded in mist. We can't give up. No matter who we lose to, we can't lose to the God Realm's territories. Yu Hua said agitatedly, and then shouted loudly, everyone of the Moon Shadow Estate, listen to my command. Sacrifice. In order to win, sacrifice yourself. After shouting, seeing that everyone had reacted, Yu Hua shouted again. At this moment, almost everyone in the Moon Shadow Estate looked at Fairy Yu Miao, wanting to know what she meant. Fairy, what are you hesitating for? If you hesitate any longer, we'll be eliminated. Nod your head. Yu Hua also locked his gaze on Fairy Yu Yan's face. Sacrifice? After hearing Yu Hua's shout and seeing everyone's reaction, Night Sorrow immediately guessed what was going on. Instinctively, he waved his golden heavenly halberd and stabbed it toward Fairy Yu Yan. At this moment, Fairy Yu Yan's face was filled with sorrow, and she was completely useless. What are you waiting for? Sacrifice yourself. This time, Yu Hua shouted and directly sacrificed himself, turning into a ray of moonlight and entering Fairy Yu Yan's body. For Fairy Yu, for victory, sacrifice yourself. At this moment, the others in the Moon Shadow Estate also began to sacrifice themselves. Those more than 40 Dominator Realm cultivators all sacrificed themselves tragically to help Fairy Yu Yan. If I were you, I'd crush my identity tag. Yu Yan, who had absorbed more than 40 rays of energy, stood on the spot, her eyes completely cold. Night Sorrow saw this and sneered. When there's a battle, there will be sacrifices. They used their own deaths in exchange for the victory of the Moon Shadow Estate. There's nothing bad about that. Fairy Yu Yan, who had absorbed a large amount of energy, had already reached the peak combat strength of a moon spirit battle pet. Her tone was cold with a hint of madness. An icy divine domain bloomed around her, and then she said, "Let me introduce you again. Moon Shadow Estate's holy maiden, Yu Yan." After saying this, she looked up to the sky and howled. "Moon Spirit Battle Pet, return to your position." Awoo! The summoned Moon Spirit Battle Pet, which was already in a white-hot battle with the chaotic heavenly crystal beast, immediately roared, broke away from the battle, and flew to Yu Yan's side. Looks like we're going to have a tough battle. Looking at Yu Yan, whose aura had already reached the peak of the supreme stage, Night Sorrow's brows revealed a trace of seriousness. It's good to have a tough battle. It just so happens that I haven't exercised my muscles and bones just now. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Myriad Sword Sect said carelessly. Although he said that he, who was holding the heaven-slaying sword, was not careless at all and was vigilant and on guard. We can finally stand side by side again. A cold smile appeared on Wu Lingfei's face. As for the others in the heavenly realm, they all understood that the Holy Maiden had absorbed the energy of dozens of dominators and had become incomparably powerful. She was very difficult to deal with and needed everyone to attack together. You can all die side by side. After Wu Lingfei finished speaking, the Holy Maiden smiled contemptuously and roared, "The people of the Moon Shadow Estate will not die in vain. All of you must die with them." You want us to die with them? That depends on whether you have the ability to do so. Night Sorrow snorted and continued, "Everyone, follow me and kill her. Clan." Chapter 30:10. You want to kill me? Ha, you're overestimating yourself. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, the holy maiden of the moon evolution once again smiled disdainfully. Then, a crescent-shaped scepter appeared in her hand. She held the scepter in her hand and struck it at each of the people in the divine realm. These attacks looked very simple, but their power was frighteningly great. Night Sorrow observed with the sea serpent's eye and warned, "Be careful, everyone. You can't take this attack head-on." "Don't worry, we won't be that careless." Murong Jinlu glanced at Night Sorrow and used his movement technique to dodge the Moonflow Saintess attack. However, he didn't expect that this attack could track him. No matter how he tried to dodge, he couldn't shake it off. Everyone in the God Realm's territory, including the chaotic heavenly crystal beast, was completely suppressed by this attack. Only Night Sorrow shouted and used his golden heavenly halberd to break the Moonflow Saintess attack. Then he immediately went to help the others break through this attack. In the end, they managed to block this attack without any mishap. A casual strike from this Saintess and you're already like this. Now, I'll use my ultimate skill. Let's see how you guys block it. The Holy Maiden of the Moon Evolution Holy Maiden saw the reaction of the people of the heavenly realm and laughed wildly. She formed a seal with both hands and threw out the scepter that was floating in front of her. She didn't use this move on Yi Shang, but on Yuan Fengxue, who was slightly weaker. "Get into formation. Everyone, let's resist this attack together," Xiao Tianxian cautiously shouted. Immediately, apart from Night Sorrow and the chaotic heavenly crystal beast, the other 9 people in the God Realm's territory immediately executed a joint attack. He used this attack to counter the Holy Maiden's attack. However, although the 9 of them were able to fight to a draw against the 40-plus sovereigns of the Moonshadow estate, they were still able to fight to a standstill. However, the Lunar Evolution Saintess had completely fused with the energy of those sovereigns. Her strength had risen to a terrifying level. Bang! The 9 people who had formed the formation were all sent flying. None of them were lightly injured. "Hun, let's hold her back and let the others recover." Night Sorrow probed with his spiritual energy and confirmed that although Wu Lingfei and the others were injured, their lives were not in danger. As long as he swallowed some medicinal pills, he would recover very quickly. He immediately joined forces with the chaotic heavenly crystal beast to fight the Lunar Evolution Holy Maiden and the Moon Spirit Battle Pet. However, after accepting the sacrifice, the Holy Maiden of Moon Evolution seemed to be invincible. Although he wasn't an earthly sovereign, his attacks were getting stronger and stronger, to the point that he was unrivaled. Very quickly, Night Sorrow and the chaotic heavenly crystal beast were suppressed. Not long after, the 2 of them suffered heavy injuries. You will witness the death of your companion with your own eyes. Just like me. After sending Yi Shang flying again, the holy daughter of the Moon Evolution sect coldly snorted and once again attacked the other people from the God Realm. No! The Moonflow Saintess was about to attack Wu Lingfei and the others. Night Sorrow immediately used the 33 Heavens secret combat technique as a foundation, burning his blood essence. He raised his speed to the fastest and used the golden heavenly halberd to block the opponent's attack. Your speed is not bad. But how much blood essence do you have? The Holy Maiden of Moon Evolution smiled cruelly when she saw that Night Sorrow was burning his blood essence. The fact that she had accepted everyone's sacrifice had driven her into a state of complete insanity. She sneered and struck out again. "It's enough to stop you." Facing this attack, Night Sorrow stood up again to block the attack. At the same time, everyone in the celestial realm burned their bloodline power, ready to fight to the death. But the Holy Maiden of Moon Evolution's strength was so terrifying that it was difficult to resist. Night Sorrow could barely resist it. Although the others burned their bloodline power, they couldn't resist at all. Then, Night Sorrow stood in front of everyone and continuously blocked the Holy Maiden of Moon Evolution's attacks. "No, this can't go on. Everyone, think about it, what should we do? Just one more step, and our celestial realm will be able to make history. If we lose like this, it's really not acceptable." Wan Zhenzong, who had transformed into a giant sword, shouted unwillingly. Xiao Tianxian and Wu Lingfei both looked at Night Sorrow, their eyes filled with unwillingness. "Hold on. If we can't think of a solution, then we'll try our best to hold on. Although she's strong now, she can't maintain this state forever. Yi Shan roared and continued to stand in front of everyone, blocking the attacks of the Moon Evolution Saintess. He fell down again and again, but he stood up again every time. Seeing Night Sorrow's performance, the Holy Maiden of Moon Evolution sneered. My power will dissipate, but it'll last longer than you think. The Holy Maiden of Moon Shadow Territory absorbs the power of the Moon God from the sacrifice of our people, and she'll last for a month. There's no suspense in this battle. Seeing this, Supreme Yuling's brows relaxed completely, as if the sacrifice had nothing to do with her. Congratulations Supreme Yuling, congratulations to the Moon Shadow Territory for advancing to the top 8. This Divine World Territory is really hard to deal with. Besides the 4 sacred grounds, only the Moon Shadow Territory can suppress it. Dao Wui said enviously. Congratulations too. Our Moon Shadow Territory has indirectly taken revenge for your Dao World Territory. Supreme Yuling said with a smile, and then she watched the battle again. At that moment, Night Sorrow was still trying his best to block the Holy Maiden of Moon Evolution's attacks. He didn't know that the Holy Maiden of Moon God's power could last for a month. The Holy Maiden of Moon Evolution enjoyed the pleasure of this abuse, so she kept attacking Night Sorrow. What should we do? What should we do? Wan Jianzong asked when he saw the Holy Maiden attacking Night Sorrow continuously. Does our Divine World Territory have a sacrificial technique? Why don't we just sacrifice it to Brother Yi? Let Brother Yi kill him. As far as I know, our Divine World Territory doesn't have such a secret technique. Xiao Dunxian shook his head and said helplessly. Your Divine World Territory doesn't have it, but I have a similar secret technique here. At that moment, Evil Sword Earthly Supremacy, who had been silent, suddenly sent a voice transmission to Wan Jianzong. Evil Sword. What do we need to do? Wan Jianzong asked excitedly. It's very simple. I just need to teach you the secret technique's chant. However, this sacrificial technique won't kill you directly like the people of the Moon Shadow Territory. However, you won't be able to use your divine essence force and spiritual energy for 30,000 years. Are you willing to do that? Yes. Of course. Wait for me to ask the others. Wan Jianzong said. Then, he sent a voice transmission to everyone, including Night Sorrow, to tell them what Evil Sword Earthly Supremacy had said. Can we trust his words? What if our powers are sacrificed to him? Xiao Tianxian asked doubtfully after Wan Jianzong finished speaking. The others also voiced their concerns. If what Evil Sword Earthly Supremacy had said was true, they were willing to sacrifice 30,000 years of divine essence force and spiritual energy. Clan M. Chapter 30:11. It shouldn't be a problem. He needs to rely on Brother Yi to rebuild his body. There's no need for him to harm us at this time. Thousand Sword Sect said. Moreover, Evil Sword has entered Brother Ye's space grotto heaven. Even if he has any tricks up his sleeve, they won't be of any use. Therefore, there's no need for him to harm us. That seems to make sense. Muronguelu nodded. Good. Then don't hesitate anymore. Let's do it now. With every second we delay, Yi Sorrow will be in more danger. Xiao Tianxian said seriously. Then he started to learn Evil Sword Sect's secret skill with the others. This secret skill was not difficult to master. In about 10 breaths of time, everyone had mastered it. At this time, Thousand Sword Sect was once again defeated by Night Sorrow. He shouted, Brother Yi, absorb our strength. Night Sorrow, you have to bring our strength to defeat the Moon Shadow Estate and enter the top 8. Create history for the realm of gods. Wu Lingfei looked at Night Sorrow with a complicated expression. To any cultivator, not being able to use their divine origin force and divine soul for 30,000 years was an unbearable torture. However, she did not hesitate or back down. Night Sorrow, go and create history. Yuan Fengshue's eyes were filled with tears. She was very excited. However, giving up 30,000 years was not enough to make her afraid. Stop talking. Hurry up and start. If you have anything to say it after we win. At this time, Xiao Tianxian interrupted everyone who was about to speak. He looked at Night Sorrow and said, "Don't hesitate. Start. But I will use the power of the estate to enter the top 8. I will not disappoint everyone. Otherwise, my divine soul will be destroyed." Night Sorrow, who had distanced himself from the Moon Shadow Saintess, knew the price that everyone would have to pay. However, under such circumstances, he did not have time to be pretentious. He roared and raised his arm to accept everyone's sacrifice. In an instant, the power that everyone in the realm of gods had sacrificed turned into light and entered his body. After absorbing the power, Night Sorrow roared to the sky and kept everyone in his space grotto heaven. He then looked at the Moon Shadow Saintess and said, "Let's fight again." I didn't expect the realm of gods to have a sacrifice. The way the Holy Maiden looked at Yishang was very different now. She was originally arrogant, but now there was a trace of fear in her eyes. After all, under normal circumstances, she was no match for Yishan. "There are many things that you can't imagine, but I'm smizes." That Night Sorrow roared and once again used the 33 Heavens Battle Mystic technique, pushing his strength to the peak. After absorbing so much energy, even though his body was very strong, he still felt a lot of pressure. Without the slightest hesitation, he immediately struck out. His. This spear was something that Yishang had recently comprehended, and it relied on the energy of an Earth Sovereign. Supreme Reincarnation Spear? It doesn't seem like much. Facing Night Sorrow's Supreme Reincarnation Spear, the Moon Shadow Saintess once again unleashed a fierce power and attacked. Descent of the Moon Goddess. In an instant, the power around her gathered in the air and formed the shadow of the Moon Goddess. After the shadow took shape, it immediately charged at Yishan. "Kill those who block my way! Kill those who block my way!" Night Sorrow roared and pierced through the Moon Shadow Saintess's attack with his golden heavenly halberd. Not only did he pierce through the Moon Goddess's shadow, but he also pierced through Yu Yan's body. Yu Yan's face turned ashen the moment Night Sorrow pierced through his body. She hadn't expected that Yi Sorrow's strength would rise to such a level after absorbing the sacrificial power of 9 cultivators. She also did not expect to be defeated by him in one move. Moon Goddess Battle Pet. Take me and run. The moment her body was pierced, Yu Yan understood that she could not fight Night Sorrow anymore. She immediately gave an order to her Moon Spirit Battle Pet. She wanted to escape and then come back. She's a woman who knows when to yield. But what's the use of that? Night Sorrow's anger exploded at the thought of the 9 cultivators who had sacrificed themselves. He used the Void Transition technique to chase after the Moon Goddess Battle Pet the moment it escaped. Night Sorrow's strength was enough to fight against most of the top Supremes, so his speed was not slow either. Soon, he caught up with the Moon Goddess Battle Pet. Yu Yan saw that it was difficult for her to escape and immediately said charmingly, "If you leave the realm of the gods and let the Moon Shadow Estate pass, I can give myself to you. Also, the Moon Shadow Estate will confer you the title of Saint. You will be second only to the Saint." "I don't care." After Yu Yan spoke, Night Sorrow did not hesitate at all and attacked her with the Thunder Reincarnation Spear. As for the Supreme Reincarnation Spear, it consumed too much energy, so Night Sorrow did not dare to use it continuously. "Bastard! You're forcing me to die together with you." With no way to escape in Night Sorrow's stubbornness, Yu Yan roared with a gloomy face and ordered, "Moon Goddess Battle Pet, self-destruct. Help me kill Night Sorrow." Halt. The Moon Goddess Battle Pet roared and charged toward Night Sorrow. Yu Yan's eyes were completely filled with determination. Obviously, she was not only going to let the Moon Goddess Battle Pet self-destruct, but also prepared to do so herself. Chaos Run. The chaotic heavenly crystal beast had just caught up. Night Sorrow sensed its aura and immediately warned it. Hearing this, the chaotic heavenly crystal beast was stunned for a moment, then its eyes lit up and it fled. As for Night Sorrow, he looked at Yu Yan without fear and said, "If you want to self-destruct, I, Night Sorrow, will never back down." Even if you can die together with me, my battle pet is still in the realm of the gods. It will be judged as the winner. As for you, it's impossible for you to scare me away. It's impossible for me to even take half a step back." After he finished speaking, Night Sorrow activated his god domain once more, and he even utilized the energy of virtue. He activated his defense to the strongest state. He also set up a divine essence trapping formation and a merit trapping formation around him. Faced with the threat of Yu Yan's self-destruction, he did not retreat at all. His determination to risk his life was no less than Yu Yan's. This choice seemed silly, but if he retreated, Yu Yan would definitely take the opportunity to escape. That way, she, who had many tricks up her sleeve, might be able to turn things around. "So be it, I'm not afraid." Yu Yan, who was definitely inferior to Night Sorrow in terms of strength, was even more determined to self-destruct when he saw how determined Night Sorrow was. With a roar, he prepared to self-destruct with the Moon Goddess battle pet against Night Sorrow. "Holy Lady, you can start over if you lose. There's no need to pay with your life. Besides, even if you self-destruct, you can't stop the realm of the gods from winning. Forget it." At this moment, Supreme Yu Ling ignored the rules of the Battle of Providence and sent a voice transmission to Yu Yan. Genius remembered the address of this site in 1 second. Human mobile version reading website. Chapter 30:12. Supreme Yu Ling had once said that she could not communicate with everyone in the battle. That was just an excuse. As the host of this year's Battle for Providence, he could communicate with anyone. However, he would have to pay a huge price. Supreme Yu Ling did not know what the price was. However, he knew that if he let the daughter of Holy Lord Yu Yu die in the Battle for Providence, he would not have a good ending. Therefore, at this critical moment, he did not hesitate to remind her. "Supreme Yu Ling?" Hearing Supreme Yu Ling's reminder, Yu Yan, who had already decided to die together with Night Sorrow, stopped. He immediately stopped. "It's me. Saintess, don't give up 10,000 years of cultivation because of a momentary loss. There will be plenty of opportunities to make a comeback." Supreme Yu Ling tried to persuade him again before she continued. "The sacred leader is already on his way. He will personally kill Yi Shang after the battle for the karmic luck is over. Saintess, you should crush your identity token." Hearing this, Yu Yan said hesitantly, "Yu Ling war pet, what choice do you think we should make?" At this moment, Yu Ling said excitedly, "Saintess, Holy Lord is already here. Please come out." "Is Father here?" Hearing the news of Yu Yu Earth Supreme's arrival, Yu Yan, who had a complicated expression, hesitated again. At this moment, Yu Yu Earth Supreme saw clearly what was going on. He immediately asked Yu Ling to send a voice transmission. "Tell Yu Yan to give up and come out immediately. Don't make unnecessary sacrifices." Yu Yu Earth Supreme only had one daughter, and that was Yu Yan. Moreover, at his cultivation level, it was already impossible for him to have another child. How could he bear to see Yu Yan choose to self-destruct? "Yes, Holy Lord," Supreme Yu Ling advised again when she heard this. She also expressed that this was Yu Yu Earth Supreme's order. "Alright, I'll go out." Yu Yan, who was continuously advised, gradually withdrew the hostility from the battle. He took out his identity token and wanted to crush it. "You want to leave just because you want to? How can it be so easy?" Gentle dragon roar. At this moment, Night Sorrow saw that Yu Yan wanted to escape and immediately roared at him before striking out with the Supreme Reincarnation Spear. What happened? Yu Yan was instantly paralyzed by Soft Dragoncree's roar. She wanted to crush her nameplate, but there was nothing she could do. They could only look on helplessly as the identity tokens stopped in his hand. After absorbing the power of the 9 divine souls from the divine world, Night Sorrow's strength had increased tremendously. Even his attacks on divine souls had improved tremendously. The moment Yu Yan was paralyzed, his Supreme Reincarnation Spear directly shattered his Dantian. After shattering Yu Yan's Dantian, the Moon Spirit Battle Pet was the first to recover. It immediately pushed Yu Yan away and self-destructed at Night Sorrow. Boom! The Moon Spirit Battle Pet was at the upper celestial stage. when it self-destructed, it was still very powerful. Even if Night Sorrow absorbed the power of the 9 people, he would still be sent flying. Moon Spirit Battle Pet. At this moment, tears immediately streamed down Yu Yan's face after he recovered. Seeing this, Exalt Yu Ling roared anxiously, "Holy Maiden! The son of a wealthy family would never be able to sit still and do nothing. Don't hesitate any longer. Hurry up and crush the nameplate." But this time, Yan did not hesitate at all. He crushed the nameplate and completely gave up on the battle for Providence. The moment he was teleported out, Yu Yan collapsed weakly on the teleportation square. Exalt Yu checked Yu Yan's injuries and heaved a sigh of relief. Although your dantian is shattered, you can recover quickly with a secret technique. As for today's grudge, I will avenge you. Father! Yu Yan cried uncontrollably as he was held in Exalt Yu's arms. Boom! At this moment, an extremely terrifying thundercloud suddenly rose above the square where the battle for Providence was taking place. When the thundercloud appeared, Exalt Yu Ling's expression changed drastically. She shouted, "Holy Lord, save me. This is the backlash from the battle for Providence. This is the price I have to pay for communicating with the Holy Maiden. Don't worry. I will protect you." Exalt Yu touched Yu Yan's forehead gently and got up to help Exalt Yu Ling block the lightning. However, at the next moment, the dense lightning completely descended. Before anyone could react, it killed Exalt Yu Ling. "Yu Ling!" Exalt Yu, who wanted to save Exalt Yu Ling, roared unwillingly. "My condolences. No Exalt can withstand the backlash from the battle for Providence. Even earthly sovereigns might not be able to survive." At this moment, Feng Wuji slowly walked over and said to Exalt Yu, "Yu Ling is my right-hand man. I didn't expect him to die here. I really can't accept this." Facing Feng Wuji, who came from the 4 great sacred grounds, Yu's tone was still very gentle even though he was in a bad mood. "Exalt Yu, I have a spiritual pill here that can heal dantian injuries. Take it and treat Yu Yan. If you don't treat him immediately, it won't be easy for him to fully recover." Then Feng Wuji continued, "Thank you, Exalt Yu." After receiving the spiritual pill from Feng Wuji, Exalt Yu thanked him and fed it to Yu Yan. The spiritual pill was swallowed in less than 20 breaths. Yu Yan's originally pale face recovered. She choked and said, "Father, my dandan has recovered. Moreover, my strength is stronger than before." "Really? Then why don't you thank Exalt Yu?" Exalt Yu immediately said when he heard Yu Yan's words. Yu Yan thanks Exalt Yu. Yu Yan bowed to Feng Wuji and then looked at the screen of the battle for Providence. He found Night Sorrow's location and said coldly, "One day, I will kill you with my own hands." "Why do you need to wait for a day? When he comes out, I will help you control him. I will let you kill him with your own hands." Exalt Yu immediately said coldly when he heard Yu Yan's words. At this moment, Feng Wuji reminded him, "If you fight here, be careful of the backlash. It was not easy for you and me to cultivate to Exalt Yu. Don't lose your life here." "It's okay. It should be impossible to kill Exalt Yu with the Calamity Cloud just now." Exalt Yu said and looked at Night Sorrow. "This Night Sorrow must die. The realm of the gods cannot have another supreme longevity. From the looks of it, if he is allowed to continue growing, not to mention becoming an immortal supreme, it is entirely possible for him to surpass it." Feng Wuji looked at Night Sorrow and smiled. At this moment, Dao Wui suddenly said, "Congratulations, Exalt Yu. The Jiao Xian territory has just entered the top 8. "Top 8? What's there to congratulate?" Feng Wuji asked coldly when he heard this. Clan M. Chapter 3013. Wuji Earthly Supremacy. If it were any other time, there would be nothing to congratulate the Jiao Xian estate for entering the top 8. Dao Wui said quickly. He then took a deep breath and continued, "But it's different this time. After all, the Tianshao estate and the Immortal estate have fought each other. Both sides have suffered great losses. No matter which side they appear, they will not be a threat to the Jiao Xian estate. This means that the Jiuxian estate will at least be able to get into the top 2. The top 3 is not a problem, but the top 2 might not be. Feng Wuji said coldly. Why is that? Dao Wui asked in confusion. The top 8 of the Battle of Providence depends on the strength of the strongest person in each estate. The Jiuxian estate has a lot of people left, but they might not be able to get into the top 2. In my opinion, the realm of gods might be able to pull off an upset. What? My lord, are you saying that you think Night Sorrow from the realm of gods will win? Dao Wui asked in disbelief. This Night Sorrow's strength should be on par with the top geniuses of the 4 territories. When the battle royale starts, it won't be strange for him to get any results. Feng Wuji said. It's possible. To be honest, I have prepared some tricks for my daughter. They are all for the top 4. But they still lost to this Night Sorrow. The realm of gods has a real genius. Yu Earthly Supremacy also praised Feng Wuji. But then, he said coldly, but geniuses who are too powerful will not live for long. Supreme Longevity was so arrogant back then, but he still died in our hands. In the end, it was all because of us. Supreme Longevity might not be dead. All the territories must be on guard against his return. Upon hearing Moonfeather Earthly Sovereign's words, Feng Wuji immediately reminded her. Pausa. Yu Earthly Supremacy was puzzled by Feng Wuji's certainty. Although everyone suspected that Supreme Longevity was not completely dead, they were only guesses. No one was as certain as Feng Wuji. A peerless genius like him won't die so easily. Feng Wuji continued, not explaining where his doubts came from. Alright. Moonfeather Earth Sovereign did not say anything. After that, everyone started to watch the battles in other territories. At this point in the battle, 5 territories had already entered the top 8. They were the God World Territory, Jiuxian Territory, Mingyan Territory, Annihilation Territory, and Burning Sky Territory. In addition, the Heavenly Owl Territory and the Extreme Immortal Territory were still in a fierce battle. While everyone was paying attention to these territories, Night Sorrow, who had been shocked by the explosion of the Moon Spirit's battle pet, recovered and went to the Tower of Eternity that he had yet to clear. He began to fight with the Holy Spirit on the 32nd floor. While the power of sacrifice was still present, he successfully defeated it and entered the 33rd level. Outside of the 4 great holy lands, he was the first cultivator to defeat a Holy Spirit on the 32nd level. After defeating the 32nd level's Holy Spirit, a large amount of Earth Sovereign's laws immediately surged into Night Sorrow's body. After absorbing the energy, he found that his strength had increased once again. This made him feel very good. I heard that after passing through this level, you can enter the true eternal divine tower. I wonder how difficult it is. After entering the 33rd level, Night Sorrow murmured and completely entered battle mode. However, after fighting for a while, Night Sorrow realized that something was wrong. Originally, the Holy Spirits of the first 32 levels were the guardian beasts of the 33rd level. They were in groups of 8, guarding a high platform in the center of the 33rd level from 4 directions. On the high platform was a sleeping Holy Spirit. After sensing the aura of this Holy Spirit, Night Sorrow was completely speechless. This was actually an Earth Sovereign level Holy Spirit. With my current strength, it's definitely very difficult to pass through the 33rd level. I'd better give up and search for the Moon Shadow Estate's Eternal Divine Tower. They probably didn't pass the 32nd level. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow left the 33rd level. Together with the chaotic Heavenly Crystal Beast, he searched for the Moon Shadow Estate's Eternal Divine Tower. After finding it, he also defeated the Holy Spirit on the 32nd level and absorbed its laws and essence. This time, Night Sorrow didn't let the chaotic Heavenly Crystal Beast absorb it because he needed to continue to become stronger to make up for the lack of means. I wonder what the competition for the top 8 is like. Do any of you know? After absorbing the laws and essence of the 22nd level, Night Sorrow asked. We're not sure either. Besides, no one in the Divine Realm territory should know. After all, no one has advanced to the top 8 before. Myriad Sword Master said with a smile. At this time, everyone in the Divine Realm territory was released by Night Sorrow to drink and celebrate together. After all, this was the first time the Divine Realm territory had advanced to the top 8 of the Battle for Providence. This had already made history. Even in the era of supreme longevity, the Divine Realm territory had never advanced to the top 8. Obtaining such results was worthy of their celebration. However, after drinking for a while, Xiao Tianxian suddenly frowned and said, "To be honest, it's definitely a good thing to obtain such results this time. But I'm worried that after everyone goes out, they'll immediately be hunted down. We don't care, but Night Sorrow is the hope of the Divine Realm's rise. If we're killed after leaving the small world." Xiao Tianxian had yet to finish when Yishang opened his mouth and said, "Counter soldiers with arms, water with an earth weir. Now it seems that I can only try my best to improve my strength in the battle for Providence. And figure out a way to protect myself. I wonder what the rewards for the top few are. If the reward can let you advance to the supreme stage, that would be great." Wu Lingfei said with a frown. Among everyone present, she was definitely the most worried about Night Sorrow. Advancing to the supreme stage should be impossible. Advancing to the half-step supreme stage should be the limit. Night Sorrow shook his head and said, recently, the speed of his strength improvement had been quite fast. Now that he had advanced to the supreme stage in such a short time, it was very likely that it would cause the consequences of an unstable foundation. Then we can only take one step at a time. But we don't dare to do anything as long as we have a clear conscience. At most, we'll all die together. Wu Lingfei said. If anything happens, everyone will fight together. Myriad Sword Master also said with a smile. He was the more carefree one among them. Then, everyone in the Divine Realm territory continued to drink. After drinking with them, Night Sorrow kept everyone back into the space grotto heaven and quietly waited for the power of sacrifice to disappear. One morning a few days later, Night Sorrow, who was meditating, suddenly felt the strength in his body being sucked out. His whole body fell to the ground. I'm not sure if the battle for the top 8 has begun. But no matter what, I have to recover my strength as soon as possible. Yi Shang informed the others and swallowed an elixir to recover his strength. However, he had just recovered 70% of his strength. Suddenly, a teleportation rune appeared under his feet. Chapter 30:14. As soon as the teleportation rune appeared under his feet, Night Sorrow felt a huge suction force. Then, light flickered under his feet. When he opened his eyes again, he had already appeared in a grand square. This square was even wider than the one outside. Standing on the square, one could feel the thick, divine qi. When Night Sorrow appeared, he immediately saw the people from the other 7 territories. At this moment, after a series of battles, other than Ming Yen and Jiuxian territories, there were less than 10 people left in the other territories. Among them, the Realm of Gods and Tianshao territories were the most miserable, with only 1 person left. As for Ming Yen and Jiuxian territories, they each had about 50 cultivators left. Not only were their individual combat strength strong, but their overall strength was also overwhelming. The people from these 2 territories were now looking unruly as they locked their eyes on the last person left in Tianshao territory, Mu Tianai. After staring at Mu Tianai for a while, Ming Ke, the strongest person in Ming Yen territory, smiled and said, "Mu Tianai, I didn't expect this. As the champion of the previous competition, your Sky Owl territory will be so miserable in this battle for Providence. You're the only one left. If you encounter the Celestial Extinction territory, you won't be here anymore." Mu Tianye's expression was indifferent as he looked at Ming Ke with a trace of disdain. Ming Ke was ridiculed by this sentence and did not speak for a long time. At this time, Xian Qingyu, the strongest person in Jiuxian territory, smiled and said, "Ming Ke, he's alone. What are you afraid of? When the battle starts, we'll join forces to destroy him first. Alright, kick him out, and our territories will fight for the final championship to prevent him from taking advantage of the loopholes." Ming Ke smiled and nodded at Xian Qingyu of Jiuxian territory. Hearing this, Mu Tianai smiled and said, when the top 8 competition starts, you can try. Let me see if you're as powerful as Ji Xian of Celestial Extinction Territory. The overall strength of the people from the 4 territories is indeed much stronger than the other territories. At this time, Night Sorrow used the Sea Serpent's Eye to observe and saw the strength of Ming Yen and Jiuxian territories. Among them, not only Ming Ke and Xian Qingyu were strong. There were also 2 or 3 people who were close to the level of the Saintess. If they encountered the Moon Shadow Estate, they would definitely be eliminated easily. Unlike in the Divine World, the battles there were not as tough as in the Divine World. As for the other territories, the Blood Fury Territory, the Holy Spirit Territory, the Annihilation Territory, and the Burning Sky Territory, their top fighting strength was about the same as the Moon Shadow Estate. However, after the continuous battles, the number of people left was much smaller. If nothing went wrong, the 4 territories were no match for Ming Yan's territory or Jiuxian's territory. After observing them, Night Sorrow locked his gaze onto Mu Tianai of the Heavenly Owl territory. This Mu Tianai was dressed in white and held a folding fan in his hand. He looked elegant, but he gave off an oppressive aura. Night Sorrow glanced at him with the Sea Serpent's Eye, but he couldn't see through him. It was obvious that the other party had a concealment treasure. You are interesting, much better than Ming Ke and Xian Qingyu. The territory of the God Realm has produced a character. Mu Tianai, who was being scrutinized by Night Sorrow, turned to look at Night Sorrow and said with a smile, Scum of the God Realm, you are the same as Mu Tianai. You will be killed immediately after the quarterfinals. If I were you, I would give up the last round. Hearing Mu Tianai's words, Xian Qingyu of the Jiuxian estate immediately looked at Night Sorrow. At this moment, Night Sorrow had only recovered 70% of his strength and his aura wasn't very strong. Xian Qingyu glanced at him and said with disdain, You are interesting too. At this moment, Night Sorrow ignored Xian Qingyu and said to Mu Tianai, You and I are alone. Why don't we team up? We can eliminate the other 6 territories, and then the 2 of us can have a showdown. Mu Tianai didn't look at Xian Qingyu and said to Night Sorrow. Hearing this, the people of the Ming Yen estate and Jiuxian estate shouted in disdain. As for the people of the other 4 territories, they were a little nervous. Mu Tianai was known as the strongest person in this year's Battle of Providence. His strength was unfathomable to the rulers. If they teamed up with Night Sorrow, they could be a threat to them. I will not team up with the enemy. Night Sorrow didn't even consider Mu Tianai's suggestion and said coldly, I'm not lying to you. Back then, the Tianshao estate didn't attack the Supreme Longevity estate. We are not your enemy. After Night Sorrow said that, Mu Tianai didn't get angry. Instead, he explained in front of everyone. Don't refute the things that everyone knows. Night Sorrow said coldly after Mu Tianai said that. Back then, in the scene that the Horn Race Paragon had shown him, the top 20 territories had all made a move. He would never forget this matter. It's fine if you don't believe me. Good luck. Mu Tianai said and didn't say anything else. At this time, Xian Qingyu looked at the people of the other 4 territories and said, I have a suggestion. Let's enter the final round and team up to eliminate Mu Tianai and Night Sorrow. Then we will fight. What do you think? I think this is a good suggestion. Ming Ke from the Ming Yen estate nodded in agreement when he heard this. He felt that if they could kick Mu Tianai out like what Xian Qingyu said, the final champion would definitely be from the Ming Yen estate or the Jiuxian estate. As for the Ming Yen estate, they would at least get second place. This was a safer choice. Alright, the Xiu Ru estate agrees. The people of the Xiu Ru estate immediately agreed when the people of the 2 territories spoke at the same time. The other 3 territories thought about it and agreed as well. To them, although Mu Tianai was scary, the Ming Yen estate and the Jiuxian estate were even scarier. After they made their choice, Mu Tianai looked at Night Sorrow again and said with a smile, They are forcing us onto the same path. Night Sorrow, why don't you just agree with him? After all, Mu Tianai is recognized as the strongest person in this year's Battle of Providence. Night Sorrow did not speak. At this time, the Wanjian sect in the space grotto advised. He felt that joining forces with Mu Tianai was the best choice. Then, Yuan Fengxue and Murongern also advised Night Sorrow to put aside his hatred for the time being. After they finished speaking, Night Sorrow replied through telepathy, "I can't see through Mu Tianya's strength at all, but he is definitely much stronger than Ming Ke and Xian Qingyu. Working with him is like asking a tiger for its skin. It's very likely that we will become his cannon fodder. Anyway, we have enemies all over the world. We are not afraid of offending him." That's true. It's better to trust yourself than to trust others. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, Xiao Tianxian immediately agreed. Genius memorized this site's address in 1 second. Chinese mobile version reading website, Chapter 30:15. That's right. Night Sorrow replied to everyone. Then he said to Mu Tianai, "You're too humble. With your strength, you don't need to team up with anyone. You're interesting. I hope you can last until the end," Mu Tianai said with a smile. Then he put away his fan and stopped talking. Meanwhile, the people from Ming Yen territory and Jiao Xian territory had already started communicating with the people from the other territories. Obviously, they were discussing the details of their cooperation. Damn it. There are a total of 8 territories, and 6 of them are working together. There's also a group with the strongest strength. What's Brother Yi going to do when that happens? Isn't this just making things difficult for him? The master of the Myriad Swords sect grumbled in annoyance as the 6 great territories discussed their countermeasures. Looking at the current situation, what awaited Night Sorrow was definitely the most difficult path. Their cooperation won't last long. I just need to protect myself. Night Sorrow was much calmer. The situation in front of him was very difficult for him. However, compared to what he might encounter when he left the small world, it paled in comparison to the big one. He knew that since he had brought the realm of the gods to its current height, there was a 100% chance that someone was targeting him. As for who would attack him, that was not certain. Alright, we'll deal with it as it comes. Let's take one step at a time. If there's no other way, we'll crush the identity plate. Xiao Tianxian also nodded. Like the others, he had sacrificed 30,000 years of his strength. He was somewhat disappointed. However, when he thought of the results this time, he suddenly felt that it was worth it to exchange 30,000 years of his strength for 10 million years of the realm of the gods. Night Sorrow, we've discussed this and are prepared to give you a chance. After the final battle, you will team up with us and kill Mu Tianai. After that, we'll start the final battle. How about it? I saw that you rejected Mu Tianai just now because you want to join us, right? Suddenly, Xian Qingyu from Jiao Xian territory looked at Night Sorrow and said, You want me to join? Xian Qingyu's words surprised Night Sorrow. At the same time, he realized that Mu Tianai was not simple. Mu Tianai must be extremely difficult to deal with. Otherwise, Xian Qingyu would not have said that. If you join us, at the very least, you'll be able to get 7th place. This is the best choice for you. They wanted to isolate Mu Tianai completely. Forget it. Not interested. After Ming Ke finished speaking, Yi Shang didn't even think about it and directly rejected him. Bastard. You refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. Upon hearing this, Ming Ke and Xian Qingyu were furious. In their eyes, they had already given Night Sorrow a lot of face by taking the initiative to persuade him to surrender. At this time, Night Sorrow sneered, Cooperating with you is tantamount to asking a tiger for its skin. I might as well drink a forfeit. He had character. It seems like I should pay more attention to you. Seeing that Night Sorrow had rejected Ming Ke and Xian Qingyu, Mu Tianai, who was resting with his eyes closed, suddenly smiled. Mu Tianai, Night Sorrow. Both of you must die. Xian Qingyu shouted angrily when he saw that Mu Tianai and Night Sorrow were both calm and emotionless. Then let's see who's better. At this time, Mu Tianai, who was smiling, suddenly released his divine territory and looked at Xian Qingyu fiercely. For a moment, his aura was like a great river. You, Xian Qingyu was suppressed by Mu Tianye's aura and could not speak for a long time. Useless. You're much weaker than Night Sorrow, Mu Tianyi said disdainfully. Then he walked to a secluded place and sat down to meditate. After that, Night Sorrow did not speak anymore. He sat on the ground and patiently cultivated to recover his strength. About half a month later, Night Sorrow had successfully recovered 80% of his strength. In the next few days, Night Sorrow was still cultivating. However, above the square, a huge divine tower suddenly descended from the sky. Eternal Divine Tower? Seeing the tower, Night Sorrow murmured in confusion. This divine tower looked exactly the same as the illusory image of the Eternal Divine Tower. After observing it with the sea serpent's eye, Night Sorrow realized that it was not an illusory image. The real Eternal Divine Tower? The final battle of this battle for providence. Will it be held in the Eternal Divine Tower? This is one of the few earthly sovereign artifacts in the Eternal Supreme World. Xian Qingyu from Jiuxian's territory also exclaimed when he saw this scene. Yes. And this is an ownerless object. If you can make it recognize you as its master, it will be a supreme achievement. Ming Ke from Ming Yan's territory said greedily. Many others felt the same way. After all, an earthly sovereign artifact to the eternal supreme world was like the sovereign artifact of the deity realm. It was an earthly sovereign artifact. Seeing its appearance, even Mu Tianyi, who had been calm all this time, changed his expression. He whispered in confusion, I heard that those who see the eternal divine tower can make it recognize you as its master. But in front of so many people, how can it be counted? In this year's battle for providence, the host, Supreme Yuling, knowingly broke the law and has been executed by the rules. In order to prevent others from interfering and affecting the fairness of the battle, Supreme Yuling has been punished. The final battle will be held in the Eternal Divine Tower. Just as everyone was confused, the door of the Eternal Divine Tower suddenly opened. A Supreme Being puppet walked out from within. The puppet walked out of the door and said in a cold voice, So Supreme Yuling interfered with the battle and was executed. What a surprise! Hearing this, the Myriad Sword sect immediately laughed. The others from the deity realm also felt relieved. After all, Supreme Yuling had been targeting the deity realm since the start of the battle. Night Sorrow, you are in the same group as the Moon Shadow territory. Supreme Yuling's execution should be related to you, right? Hearing the puppet's words, Mu Tianyi immediately looked at Night Sorrow and asked. Maybe. Night Sorrow replied noncommittally. Hearing this, Mu Tianyi and the others were sure that Supreme Yuling had died because of Night Sorrow. Mu Tianyi smiled and said, It seems that being able to see the legendary Eternal Divine Tower is a blessing to you. If we meet again, I will spare you this time. Thank you very much. Yi Shang replied casually. He didn't care about this matter at all. At this time, Ming Ke was sending a voice transmission to the people of the 6 territories, full of murderous intent. The Eternal Divine Tower appeared because of Night Sorrow. In terms of fate, there is something to pay attention to. After we enter, it's best to kill him as soon as possible. Even if you don't say it, we won't let him live. Xian Qingyu said coldly. At this time, the puppet spoke again. Enter Master's Eternal Divine Tower and start the battle? Genius memorized this site's address in a second. Human mobile version reading website. Chapter 3016. What? The Eternal Tower has an owner? Upon hearing this, Ming Ke and Xian Qingyu, who were originally very interested in the Eternal Tower, were shocked. The puppet did not respond to this at all. Instead, it continued, All of you, enter through the door in front of you. Then choose the passage to enter. But everyone present responded and entered the Eternal Divine Tower through the door in front of them. After entering the Eternal Tower, 8 doors appeared in front of them. Obviously, these were 8 passages. On each of the 8 doors, there was a word. Life, death, existence, fate, success, failure, is heaven. After everyone had entered, the puppet continued, 8 passages, make your choice. Those who do not enter within 10 breaths will be eliminated. Which door should we choose? Looking at the 8 words in front of them, many people hesitated. The 6 territories, who were originally prepared to cooperate, were also surprised. They felt that there must be a reason for the 8 territories to have 8 doors. Now that they had joined forces, it was reasonable to say that they should be together. However, with so many people squeezing into one door, who knew what would happen? Let's choose a door for each territory. When we enter later, if we encounter each other, don't attack. Use all your strength to kill Night Sorrow and Mu Tianai. Xian Qingyu of the 9 Xian territory said and led the people of the 9 Xian territory into the life door. At this time, Feng Wuji, who was watching from the outside, said coldly, cowardly and useless. The 9 Xian territories' potential has been destroyed. Wuji Earthly Sovereign, you are too modest. The 9 Xian territory is the most promising contender for the championship. At the very least, they can get into the top 3. They can escape the fate of being in 4th place every time. After Feng Wuji finished speaking, Yu Earthly Sovereign comforted him. Our attention can't be limited to just one battle of providence. If the 9 Xian territory does not produce talents, I'm afraid it will soon decline. Feng Wuji said coldly. He was obviously very disappointed in Xian Qingyu. At this time, the other 6 territories also chose their doors. There were still 2 doors left for Night Sorrow and Mu Tianai. One was defeat, the other was death. Staring at the 2 doors, Mu Tianai laughed and said, one is defeat, one is death. Night Sorrow, which one do you choose? You choose first. Just leave one for me. It's just one word, it can't stop me. Night Sorrow said casually. How bold. You are much stronger than Ming Ke and Xian Qingyu. I hope you can recover soon so that we can have a showdown. With that, Mu Tianai waved his fan and walked into the Death Gate. He had chosen the 4 gates because he felt that he could fight his way out of a hopeless situation. Defeat. The last remaining Night Sorrow glanced at the word, defeat, on the door and slowly walked in. After passing through the defeat door, Night Sorrow immediately entered a desolate world. This world was filled with yellow soil and fine sand. It looked very dilapidated. Night Sorrow scanned the area with the sea serpent's eye and found no life at all. He said softly, is this the meaning of defeat? Dilapidated? I'm not sure what to do from now on. That puppet let us in, but it didn't tell us the rules. At this time, Master Wan Jian said unhappily. He had inexplicably entered a dilapidated world. His eyes were covered in darkness, and he didn't know what to do. This feeling wasn't too good. If we don't know what to do, the others probably don't know either. The rules are fair. Night Sorrow said, sat on the ground and began to cultivate. He wanted to recover his strength first. After cultivating for about 3 months, his strength had completely recovered. After that, Night Sorrow began to lead the people of the Heavenly Realm territory to investigate the world in front of them. After flying for 30 million miles, they felt that they were about to fly to the edge of the sky, but it was still a dilapidated scene. They found nothing. This surprised everyone in the Heavenly Realm territory. They did not expect that by choosing this defeat door, they had completely chosen to be alone. Not only were there no enemies, but there were also no signs of life. Night Sorrow, why don't you let us out? Let everyone feel the aura of this world. Maybe we can find something. After flying aimlessly for a long time, Wu Lingfei suddenly said. Although they could no longer use divine origin force and divine soul power, they could be said to be quite weak. However, there were no living creatures in this world, so they did not need to be afraid. Alright, everyone, let's come out and relax. Night Sorrow said and summoned everyone. After being summoned to this world, the chaotic heavenly crystal beast immediately said, it's really a dilapidated world. There's a strange feeling. What feeling? Night Sorrow immediately asked. It's on the tip of my tongue, but it's hard to say. The chaotic heavenly crystal beast thought for a moment but did not say it. At this time, Wu Lingfei suddenly said, I'm thinking, is this a formation? If it's a formation, then we need to break the formation. Break the formation and we can go out. This should be the meaning of this place's existence, right? That makes sense. Hearing Wu Lingfei's words, Yuan Fengxue immediately agreed with a smile. Everyone discussed for a while and felt that what Wu Lingfei said made sense. It was very likely that they needed to crack it within the stipulated time to enter the final battle venue. Then what are we hesitating for? Let's split up and search for clues. Myriad Sword Sect said. Seeing that Night Sorrow was about to refute, he immediately said, although we can't use our cultivation, our bodies are still there. If we don't encounter any ferocious beasts, there shouldn't be any danger. That works too. Everyone has a voice transmission stone on them. If there's any situation, immediately send me a voice transmission. However, before everyone splits up, let's have a cup of tea in peace. Night Sorrow said and took out a tea set from his spatial Dharma artifact. He poured a cup of hot tea for everyone. After everyone finished drinking, he let everyone leave at ease. This cup of tea was called Heart Intoxication, and it had a very special aura. Those who finished drinking could use the Horn Race's secret technique to track them. This was his double insurance. After everyone left, Night Sorrow suddenly flew to the clouds and used the sea serpent's eye to look down at the dilapidated world below. Standing at a high place, it indeed looks a little different. But I can't see any clues at all. Night Sorrow, who was floating in the clouds, looked for a while and did not find anything, so he stopped using the sea serpent's eye. He looked at it with ordinary eyes. Looking at it from the perspective of an ordinary person, Night Sorrow immediately saw more different scenes. This was something that cultivators could not see at all. For a moment, it had a huge impact on Night Sorrow's state of mind. If I cultivate in this state of mind, I should be able to completely advance to the peak of the sovereign realm very quickly. Night Sorrow, who was in a strange state of mind, immediately sat on the clouds and cultivated. Genius remembered this site's address in a second. Clan Mobile Version Reading Website. Chapter 3017. After cultivating for an entire year, Night Sorrow was already very close to becoming a half-step supreme. However, he encountered a cultivation barrier and was temporarily unable to advance further from a higher juggernaut. Thus, he walked out of his cultivation state. Unable to advance further in terms of cultivation, Night Sorrow immediately came out of his cultivation state. He continued to study the array formation of the small world in front of him. At first, Night Sorrow immediately saw the scattered divine world cultivators and the chaos heavenly crystal beast below with the sea serpent eye. The chaos heavenly crystal beast still looked indomitable, while the divine world cultivators looked like ants. If he hadn't activated the sea serpent eye, he wouldn't have been able to see them clearly. However, after seeing everyone's position and direction, Night Sorrow's mind stirred. The path they took gave him a lot of inspiration. It felt as if a trace of vitality had been produced in the dilapidated world. That kind of concept was very wonderful. It was as if it was recovering from the ruins and rising from the dead silence. For a time, Night Sorrow's understanding of life improved further. Although he didn't find a way to break the array formation in front of him, he obviously had an epiphany in terms of cultivation. I should be able to reach peak juggernaut this time. After confirming that the divine world cultivators were all safe, Night Sorrow sat on the clouds and started cultivating again. This time, his state of mind was clear, and his cultivation was extremely carefree. It took him around 3 months to reach the peak of the Tao Ruler Realm, which was the Half-Supreme Highness Realm. Phew! After passing the lightning tribulation, Night Sorrow immediately exhaled. That carefree feeling was almost the same as when he became a juggernaut. Although Half-Step Supreme was only a small realm higher than a higher juggernaut, it was a great improvement in strength. It's time to find a way to break the array. The competition in front of him had no rules. Night Sorrow felt that he had to cherish time as much as possible. Thus, he once again studied the way to break the array formation in this dilapidated world. In terms of concept, he had already comprehended it from the path others walked, but he still needed to study how to break it. However, just as Night Sorrow began to calculate, Wu Lingfei suddenly sent a voice transmission. Night Sorrow, I've already figured out what's going on with this world. Oh, what was going on in this world? Have you found a way to break the formation? Yi Shang immediately asked in confusion. He was pleasantly surprised. It's not a formation, it's the harmony of the mind. Wu Lingfei said briefly before continuing to explain, this broken world. What we need is nirvana. A broken world needs nirvana? Night Sorrow was puzzled. Yes. Let this dilapidated world be filled with vitality once more. Once I successfully undergo nirvana, I should be able to walk out of here. Wu Lingfei's voice sounded again. I've undergone nirvana several times in a row, so I understand this state of mind. Furthermore, he had successfully verified his thoughts. Take a look at me. Alright. Yi Shang nodded and looked in Wu Lingfei's direction. Everyone else was still in the desert, but Wu Lingfei's location was already overflowing with greenery. The green vegetation and vines were like bamboo shoots after the rain, constantly growing. Not long after, even towering ancient trees grew out. That's true. Rebirth from the ashes, that's right. That's how it should be. In an instant, Night Sorrow's state of mind was also in sync with nirvana. Below Night Sorrow, countless green sprouts fought to be the first to emerge from the ground. I did it. I did it too. After all, Night Sorrow was also someone who had been reborn, so he quickly did this and then sent a voice transmission to Wu Lingfei. At this time, Wu Lingfei continued, then send a voice transmission to the others. I feel that as long as we fill the entire world with vitality, the way out will appear on its own. I think so too. I'll do it now. Lingfei, this time, you've really done a meritorious service. In the past, every time there was a problem, the person who came forward to solve it was Night Sorrow. This time, it was Wu Lingfei who helped him share the burden. This feeling was very good. After that, Night Sorrow sent a voice transmission to the Myriad Sword Sect, Shao Tianxian, and the others. In the next few days, the broken world below was completely covered in green vegetation. You guys are very good. You can comprehend the true meaning of nirvana. Just as Yi Shang and the others had turned the entire dilapidated world green, above the void, a figure immediately appeared. This figure was very tall and looked about the same as the chaotic heavenly crystal beast. Although there wasn't any aura flowing around his body, he naturally gave off an extremely powerful feeling. Night Sorrow, Wu Lingfei, and the others could not sense the cultivation of this figure at all, but in front of him, they felt very small and powerless to resist. Senior, poor you. When this figure appeared, everyone in the God Realm territory was already together. After he spoke, Yi Shang immediately gathered everyone around him and asked, "What is it?" I am the first master of this eternal divine tower. Yan Hengshi, the figure said and smiled. You don't have to be wary of me, I'm here to explain the rules. Explain the rules? Myriad Sword Sect looked at the void and asked with a frown. Explain the rules. I'll tell you how to leave this small world. Yan Hengshi's virtual shadow said and then continued, this small world was originally a dilapidated world. Because your minds were compatible, you were reborn from nirvana. The reward you received was the way out. However, if you want to leave, you still need to pass another stage. Senior, what is the other stage? Night Sorrow immediately asked. You will see it soon. As long as you defeat it, you can successfully leave this place and advance to the next stage. Yan Hengshi's figure said and pointed into the distance. Everyone in the God Realm territory looked around and immediately saw a towering green plant. The size of this tall green plant could be described as covering the sky and covering the earth. It was dozens of times larger than the chaotic heavenly crystal beast. It covered an area of more than 10 million miles. Just its tentacles alone could number billions. Half-step earthly sovereign realm. Using the sea serpent's eye to observe, Night Sorrow determined the strength of this green plant. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, Yan Hengshi's figure immediately agreed. That's right, it's called the Heaven-Shrouding Radish. It's the half-step earthly sovereign realm. It's this small world's final test for you. If you are killed by it, you won't really die, but you will be eliminated. If you want to win the final championship of the Battle of Providence, defeat it. Senior, we will work hard, thank you for the reminder. After Night Sorrow said that, he took everyone back into the space. With the golden heavenly halberd in hand, he directly attacked the heaven-shrouding radish. Clan M. Chapter 30:18. Wait a minute. Night Sorrow had just made his move when Wan Jianzong suddenly shouted from within the space grotto heaven. Brother Wan, what's the situation? Night Sorrow, who had stopped his move, asked doubtfully. His move was suddenly interrupted, and he suffered a bit of backlash, and some blood flowed out of the corner of his mouth. However, it was not a big deal. Ask what the other territories are like, so that you have an idea. Wan Jianzong sent a voice transmission to Night Sorrow again, asking him to ask Yen Hengshi about the situation of the other 7 territories. That makes sense. Let's ask clearly before we make a move. Wu Lingfei's voice also came out slowly. All right, in that case I'll ask. In fact, Night Sorrow felt that the others were not too important, but since everyone said so, there was no harm in asking. After replying, Night Sorrow looked at Yen Hengshi, who was still in the void, and asked, Senior, how are the other 7 territories? Has anyone broken through the checkpoint? The other 7 territories have not successfully broken through the checkpoint yet. However, there are those who started fighting the final guardian before you. Yen Hengshi's shadow said, and then said with a smile, in those territories where war broke out, several people fought together. This is the first time that a person like you has faced the guardian alone. As for the rest, I can't reveal too much to you. Thank you for telling me, Senior. Night Sorrow replied respectfully and sent a voice transmission. It seems that Tianshao territory's Mu Tianai hasn't started the final battle yet. In that case, our progress isn't considered slow. Let's see if you can quickly defeat the heaven-shrouding radish in front of you. Xiao Tianxian said and continued, I really feel bad for putting all the pressure on you. Brother Xiao, don't say that. You have already done enough. Isn't the small world in front of us broken by concubine Ling Fei? Night Sorrow said with a smile. Then, holding the golden heavenly halberd, he flew in the direction of the heaven-shrouding radish again. Although the heaven-shrouding radish in front of him was already a huge monster, it was still growing. While he was talking to Yen Hengshi, the heaven-covering radish had grown by almost 1/10. At this moment, Yen Hengshi reminded, the heaven-shrouding radish only doesn't grow during battle. If you leave the battle and allow it to grow, it will eventually reach the level of an Earth Sovereign. Thank you for your reminder, Senior. Inferno Devil Subduing Spear. In the face of the heaven-shrouding radish, Night Sorrow's first reaction was to release flames that covered the sky, burning the heaven-shrouding radish's branches. Since Yen Hengshi had said so, he was prepared to fight and eliminate the sky-covering radish. You're seeking death. At this moment, the heaven-shrouding radish suddenly said in disdain and waved its thousands of branches. It forcefully tore apart Night Sorrow's flames. The next one to be torn apart is you. After tearing apart all of Night Sorrow's flames, the sky-covering radish let out a cold roar and extended countless branches of varying thicknesses. It extended towards Night Sorrow. It's hard to deal with. If I hadn't broken through a few days ago, I wouldn't have been its opponent. The heaven-shrouding radish's branches were like countless pythons, and each of them seemed to have their own consciousness. Soon, they extended towards Yi Shiwen from all directions. They wrapped Night Sorrow in it. Brother Yi, why aren't you moving or fighting back? At this moment, Night Sorrow didn't move or fight back, allowing the heaven-shrouding radish's branches to wrap around him. Wan Jianzong asked in confusion. Cast a long line to catch a big fish. I don't want to use a sledgehammer to kill a chicken. As Night Sorrow replied, the heaven-shrouding radish's branches had already wrapped around him. At this moment, Night Sorrow replied and then released the Supreme Reincarnation Spear. Abruptly, he charged towards the countless branches. The Supreme Reincarnation Spear exploded. Compared to the heaven-shrouding radish, Night Sorrow, who was as small as an ant, immediately exploded with endless spear radiance. These spear radiances weren't as simple as just light rays. Instead, they were illusions of golden halberds. This was the ability that Night Sorrow had obtained after advancing to half-step to Supreme Martial Artist. Boom! 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 After being bombarded by the spear radiance, the heaven-shrouding radish's branches were basically all shattered. You deserve to die. After Night Sorrow destroyed about 1/7 of its branches, the heaven-shrouding radish was immediately enraged. It let out a roar and attacked Night Sorrow again. This time, he learned from his mistake and didn't just use the branches to attack. Instead, it released a large amount of pollen while attacking. The pollen released was some small pink particles that couldn't be seen clearly with the naked eye, and it had a fragrance that would make one overtake it. This pollen must be poisonous. Night Sorrow, who was using the sea serpent's eye to observe the pollen, could tell that it must be very poisonous before coming into contact with it. If not, there was no need for the heaven-shrouding radish to release these things while attacking. Divine Origin Trapping Array. Facing the pollen and branches, Night Sorrow immediately used the Divine Origin Trapping Array to seal the space around him so that no pollen could take advantage of it. Now that Night Sorrow had advanced to half-step to Supreme Martial Artist, his strength had increased a lot. In terms of strength, he wasn't inferior to the heaven-shrouding radish, which was a half-step to Earthly Sovereign. Therefore, the Divine Origin Trapping Array that he had set up wasn't that easy to break. The heaven-shrouding radish continued to bombard him with its branches, but it didn't have much effect. Night Sorrow, you can't hide in the trapping array like this, right? Xiao Tianxian asked doubtfully when he saw Night Sorrow hiding in the trapping array to avoid the heaven-shrouding radish's poisonous powder attack. In an instant, the Divine Origin Trapping Array was completely surrounded by the branches. It felt like an ordinary person being entangled by a giant python, and the amount of pollen around him had increased significantly. Night Sorrow's choice was like drinking poison to quench his thirst. Don't worry, I know what I'm doing. At this moment, Night Sorrow still didn't make a move. Instead, he set up another virtuous trapping array. After the double trapping array was set up, Night Sorrow completely opened his deity realm and added the power of merit into it. Then, he used the Treastrimsa battle secret technique to raise his strength to the peak. Then, he said to everyone, "Next, I'll use my strongest attack. Success or failure will depend on this." Night Sorrow, go for it. Yuan Fengxue immediately shouted when he heard this. Although the people from the realm of gods didn't say much, they clearly expressed that they were prepared to share the honor and disgrace with him. That's enough. After the people from the realm of gods finished speaking, Night Sorrow let the phoenix battle armor around him burn. Then, he suddenly used the fire beacon smoke diagram that he had obtained from Yu Yen. After the fire beacon smoke diagram was released, it immediately blocked all of the heaven-shrouding radish's senses. Those branches that were attacking wildly also lost their target in an instant and started to swing blindly. Genius remembered this site's address in a second. Human mobile version reading website. Chapter 3019. Even those that were originally entangled in the divine essence trapping formation quickly loosened and began to wave blindly. This fire beacon smoke diagram is indeed very magical. No wonder I couldn't see or sense anything at that time. After seeing the heaven-shrouding radish's performance, a smile immediately appeared on Night Sorrow's face. He waved the golden heavenly halberd and struck out with an even more powerful supreme reincarnation spear. Night Sorrow's target was not the dancing branches in the sky, but the roots of the heaven-shrouding radish. Through the sea serpent's eye, Night Sorrow had already discovered that the heaven-shrouding radish's soul was hidden in the roots underground. Boom! When Night Sorrow's supreme reincarnation spear struck the roots of the heaven-shrouding radish, the sound of metal colliding was immediately heard. The hardness of the roots of the heaven-shrouding radish was actually not inferior to the golden heavenly halberd. Night Sorrow's attack actually did not penetrate it. At this moment, the heaven-shrouding radish had also determined Night Sorrow's location through the pain in its body. It seems that although the fire beacon smoke diagram is a divine artifact, it's not omnipotent. After being discovered by the heaven-shrouding radish, Night Sorrow did not panic. He pondered for a moment and used the gentle dragon roar on the roots of the heaven-shrouding radish. As soon as the gentle dragon roar was released, the branches that had already attacked Night Sorrow began to dance aimlessly again. At this moment, Night Sorrow seized the opportunity to swallow a few recovery pills. He summoned the chaotic heavenly crystal beast and said, "Help me harass the heaven-shrouding radish." At this moment, its perception is completely blocked. Use your advantage of having more tentacles. Just harass it? The chaotic heavenly crystal beast asked doubtfully. All you need to do is to make it badly battered. I'll try my best to kill it, Night Sorrow said and used the reincarnation spear technique. It merged with the golden heavenly halberd and blasted towards the roots of the heaven-shrouding radish again. When Night Sorrow launched this attack, the chaotic heavenly crystal beast had already stretched out its tentacles and kept slapping the heaven-shrouding radish's body. The chaotic heavenly crystal beast's attack immediately attracted the heaven-shrouding radish's attention. However, after waving it around for a while, heaven-covering radish realized that something was wrong. The thing that was attacking definitely wasn't Night Sorrow. Well done, Chaos. Reincarnation spear technique. Great. Just as the heaven-shrouding radish's attention was completely attracted by the chaotic heavenly crystal beast, Night Sorrow roared and attacked the roots of the heaven-shrouding radish again. Boom! This time, the heaven-shrouding radish, whose attention had been drawn over, was bombarded by Night Sorrow's attack on its roots. His divine soul was immediately struck. By the time it realized something was wrong, it was already too late. Night Sorrow had already burrowed into the body through the hole he had made. Attack his divine soul. Or, I'll kill you. The heaven-shrouding radish let out a beast-like roar as its soul was continuously attacked. Since you want to kill me, I naturally can't let you live. After the heaven-shrouding radish roared, Night Sorrow's attack immediately became even more ferocious, stirring non-stop in its roots. Not long after, the heaven-shrouding radish was completely injured. Even its branches retracted, no longer paying attention to the chaotic heavenly crystal beast. Many branches directly reached into the roots through the hole Night Sorrow had blasted open. Obviously, it wanted to pull out Night Sorrow. Although its perception was blocked by the fire and smoke diagram, the heaven-shrouding radish could still sense Night Sorrow's location through pain. After being killed by me here, it'll be difficult for you to find a chance to turn things around. Facing the branches that the heaven-shrouding radish extended in, Night Sorrow snorted coldly and used the Supreme Reincarnation Spear in the roots. The Supreme Reincarnation Spear was used inside the heaven-shrouding radish. This time, the heaven-shrouding radish's divine soul couldn't withstand it and was forcefully shattered. Not long after, the heaven-shrouding radish completely lost its life, and those crazily dancing branches also completely stopped. Phew! It's really not easy to deal with. Fortunately, I have the help of Hun Dun. Otherwise, I wouldn't have succeeded so easily. After Night Sorrow walked out of the heaven-shrouding radish, he immediately thanked the chaotic heavenly crystal beast. In the battle just now, the chaotic heavenly crystal beast was only helping Night Sorrow restrain the heaven-shrouding radish and was almost killed by the bombardment. The strength of the heaven-shrouding radish's branches could be imagined. It's really too strong. If you were a little slower, I would have been completely torn apart. Seeing that the heaven-shrouding radish was completely motionless and Night Sorrow had also appeared, the chaotic heavenly crystal beast immediately said with lingering fear. It only had the strength of an intermediate sovereign, while the heaven-shrouding radish was a half-step earthly sovereign. The gap between the two was still a little big. If it forcefully resisted, it wouldn't be able to hold on for long. Thank you for your hard work. If I get good things again, I'll prioritize you. Night Sorrow comforted. In fact, he didn't expect to be able to pass through the heaven-shrouding radish so easily. At this moment, he was in a good mood. Hearing this, the chaotic heavenly crystal beast immediately became excited and said, "Then let me absorb its laws and essence. If I absorb it, I will definitely be able to advance to the level of an upper sovereign." "That's fine too. But I want to keep a part of it. My friends can use it in the future," Night Sorrow said as he cut off a part of the heaven-shrouding radish's roots and put it into the space tunnel. At this time, Wu Lingfei reminded, "Night Sorrow, ask Yen Hengshi if we passed." But Yi Shang responded and looked at Yen Hengshi, who was in the air. However, at this time, he found that Yen Hengshi's figure began to slowly fade. "Senior, do we pass like this?" Night Sorrow immediately asked when he saw Yen Hengshi's figure becoming fainter and fainter. At this time, a smile appeared on Yen Hengshi's face, but he didn't speak. He completely disappeared between heaven and earth. What's going on? The myriad sword sect in the space tunnel saw Yen Hengshi's figure disappear and immediately asked in confusion. "We should have passed, right?" Night Sorrow said doubtfully and once again broke down the essence of the heaven-shrouding radish with the chaotic heavenly crystal beast. It didn't take long for them to completely break down its rules and essence. At this time, Night Sorrow wanted to advance to the sovereign realm, so he had to absorb the rules and essence of the Earth sovereign level. Therefore, these were useless to him. However, he was prepared to leave these to Wu Lingfei and the others. After Night Sorrow and the chaotic heavenly crystal beast completely broke down the heaven-shrouding radish. In the void, a huge spinning vortex immediately appeared. After it appeared, everyone immediately determined. This was the passage to leave the small world. "Let's go. We should have passed. I wonder how the other territories are doing," Night Sorrow said and flew up into the clouds against the wind. Then, he used the sea serpent's eye to observe the vortex. After confirming that there was no danger, he led the people of the heavenly realm and flew in. After the surrounding space stabilized, Night Sorrow found that they had appeared in a magnificent hall. At this time, there were already people in the hall. It was the people of the Ming Yen territory. Clan. Chapter 30-20. I really didn't expect this. The second one to pass is actually you, Night Sorrow. Seeing Night Sorrow's figure appear in the main hall, Ming Kei from the Life Extension territory said playfully. There was obvious disdain and sarcasm in his tone. "I also didn't expect that you would be the first to pass. In my opinion, you're far inferior to Mu Tianai." The other party wasn't in a good mood, so Yi Shang replied bluntly. Hearing this, Ming Kei immediately said angrily, "What did you say?" In his heart, he was still brooding over the fact that he was inferior to Mu Tianai. "I said that you're inferior to Mu Tianai. This is something that everyone knows," Night Sorrow said indifferently. Apparently, Ming Kei was more seriously affected by this sentence than he thought. After saying this, Ming Kei's originally gloomy face was completely filled with rage. He said coldly, "You admire Mu Tianai so much. Are you his dog? Are you relying on his power to suppress me? I can suppress you by myself. Why would I need Mu Tianai?" Night Sorrow, who was mocked by Ming Kei, also responded disdainfully. Now that he was a half-step supremacy, he was in the same realm as Ming Kei, Mu Tianai, and the others. Not to mention Ming Kei, he was confident that he could defeat Mu Tianai. You want to suppress me by yourself? Anyway, the final battle hasn't started yet. Why don't we have a fight? Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Ming Kei felt like he had heard a joke. The other cultivators in the Life Extension territory also laughed. They felt that Night Sorrow, a cultivator from a barren land, was too blindly confident. At this time, Night Sorrow asked with a smile, "In this one-on-one battle, is it me versus you, or me versus the entire Life Extension territory? Why would I need help to deal with you? Of course, it's you and me one-on-one. We'll fight to the death." Ming Kei looked coldly at Night Sorrow, as if he was looking at a dead man. Night Sorrow found this ridiculous. He looked at Ming Kei with some regret and said, "Your Life Extension territory originally had a chance to fight for first place. But because of your stupidity, you'll lose this opportunity. This was what it meant by, a soldier can bear the brunt of the problem, while a general can bear the brunt of the problem. Come, let's fight. Bastard! Do you really think that you have a chance of winning? At this moment, Ming Ke felt that his dignity had been greatly challenged, so he immediately responded coldly. We'll know who wins and who loses after the battle. Yi Shang snorted coldly and continued, You make the first move. Let me see what methods the geniuses of the 4 great holy lands have. If you let me attack first, you won't have the chance to attack again. Ming Ke said coldly, but to deal with a guy like you who is blindly confident, I have to kill him instantly. I'll teach you a lesson in your next life. You talk too much nonsense. Night Sorrow, who was already in the air, said, Can we talk with strength? Good. Since you're in such a hurry to die, I'll fulfill your wish. Very soon, you will understand that the 4 holy lands are not to be trifled with. Ming Ke roared as he took out a green tree branch and wrapped it around his wrist. Then, he took out a golden long spear and shouted, Golden spear armored horse. 1,000 arrows piercing the heart. Then, he used the golden long spear to attack with an extremely powerful aura. The moment this move was made, immediately, countless skeleton soldiers holding golden spears and armored warhorses appeared in the air. The rays of light that were shot out turned into thousands of sharp arrows and attacked Night Sorrow from all directions. What a dazzling move! But this kind of move looks good but has no power. How can it be a threat to me? Is this the instant killing skill you mentioned? Night Sorrow said disdainfully in the face of Ming Ke's golden spear armored horse and thousands of arrows. Then, he waved his golden halberd and attacked with the roaring flame demon spear. The moment this move was made, the sky was filled with phoenix flames and burned all of Ming Ke's golden spear armored horse. What? This Night Sorrow can easily break the leader's attack with one move. The strength he displayed is definitely above mine. Seeing that Night Sorrow had easily broken Ming Ke's move, the first deputy leader of Ming Yen territory, Jing Kuan, was shocked. When an expert made a move, one would know whether or not he was an expert. The attack that Night Sorrow had just made was something that he definitely could not do. This made Jing Kuan, who had the strength to enter the top 10 in this battle for Providence, very surprised. The other people in Ming Yen territory were the same. They originally had an endless sense of superiority. But now, they were all shattered by Night Sorrow's attack. They instantly understood that the realm of the gods was weak, but Night Sorrow was definitely not weak. No wonder you are so confident. You have some ability. Let's go again. Ming Ke's face was a little embarrassed when his attack was easily resolved by Night Sorrow. He said coldly, Golden spear illuminates the world. Then, he waved the golden spear in his hand again and attacked Night Sorrow. This time, the tens of thousands of rays of light from the golden spear all turned into light pillars that were 10 feet long and continuously smashed towards Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow dodged and found that these light pillars were not simple. They could track him on their own. He decided not to dodge anymore. He created a divine essence trap array and wrapped his body, allowing the light pillars to bombard him. Although the divine essence trap array did not completely block the attack of the light pillars, it still resolved a large portion of the energy. Then, these light pillars continuously bombarded Night Sorrow's body, but they did not break his defense at all. After receiving this move, Night Sorrow looked at Ming Ke and said, The second move. There's still the last move. I'll let you have 3 moves. Then attack again. Let me have 3 moves? Damn it. You deserve to die, you deserve to die. Go to hell. As soon as Night Sorrow said these words, Ming Ke's eyes turned completely red. Then there was a huge change in his eyes. His body looked different, as if an ordinary person had been possessed by a ghost. His entire person looked a little strange. Leader is using his ultimate move. This Night Sorrow is really not simple. Seeing this change in Ming Ke, Jing Kuan's eyebrows immediately turned solemn. Because at this time, Ming Ke had already used his desperate move. If he could not defeat Night Sorrow, the consequences would be unimaginable. At this time, Ming Ke had already entered a state of madness. Naturally, he did not consider this. With a dry voice, he roared, "Destiny descend! Annihilate star continent!" In the blink of an eye, he had completely entered a state that was even more demonic than before. After entering this state, the aura around Ming Kei's body was at least 10 times stronger, and the protective divine domain was 20 times stronger. The increase in his strength could not be recorded in 1,000 miles. Now, prepare to face the fate of the destruction of your soul. Eternal Life Divination Technique. After roaring, Ming Kei summoned the nebula in the sky and smashed it toward Night Sorrow. It seems that this move is not as simple as the nebula, Yi Shang said with a slight frown as he looked at the nebulas crashing down from the sky. Genius remembered this site's address in a second. Human mobile version reading website. Chapter 3021. The starlight continued to fall, one after another, forming a huge nebula. When Ming Kei attacked, Night Sorrow could clearly feel a strange power of fate. Being pulled by the power of fate, he felt as if his emotions were shackled by someone. In an instant, Night Sorrow realized that the starlight attack was not the main point. The most important point of this move was the faintly discernible power of fate. For a moment, he felt that it was a little difficult to break through, so he did not immediately fight back. Instead, he let the starlight fall on his body. "Ha! Trash of the divinity territory, why don't you fight back? Do you think that the life extension territory is just a name? We have the complete life extension inheritance, but the inheritance in your divinity territory has long been cut off." Seeing Night Sorrow standing in the same place, being bombarded by countless starlight, Ming Kei laughed. A smug smile appeared on his face as he shouted arrogantly. His attacks just now had no effect, which made him very unhappy. At this moment he finally vented his anger. Night Sorrow, what's wrong with you? Why aren't you moving?" Wu Lingfei, who was in the void abode, immediately shouted anxiously when she saw that Night Sorrow was not moving and was letting the starlight attack him. Master Wan Jian also said anxiously, wake up. If you continue to be bombarded, your body won't be able to withstand it." When Night Sorrow was bombarded by the starlight, they could clearly feel that the earth was shaking and the mountains were shaking. Obviously, this was the vibration caused by Night Sorrow's body being bombarded. The feeling of being on the verge of collapse made their hearts tremble. However, in response to everyone's silence, what the hell was going on? At this moment, Xiao Tianxian was also worried. This was because Yi Shang's body seemed to be on the verge of collapse. After thinking for a moment, Xiao Tianxian said, "Chaos, why don't you go out and help? Help Night Sorrow resolve some of the attacks." "I can't go out. And if I go out, Ming Kei will definitely summon a powerful battle pet. Do you think that the top geniuses of the 4 Holy Lands will not bring their battle pets to participate in the battle for fate?" Han Dun, who did not want to go out, found an excuse. However, this excuse was basically valid. Everyone in the celestial realm sighed. At this moment, Night Sorrow's protective divine domain had been completely destroyed by the successive attacks, and all sorts of injuries had appeared all over his body. Looking at Night Sorrow's appearance, Ming Kei proudly said, "Your body is quite solid." But it was useless. As the saying goes, a centipede dies but never falls down. This Night Sorrow isn't easy to deal with. I need to kill him quickly. Jing Kuan shouted anxiously when he saw that Ming Kei, who had freed up his hands, did not launch any follow-up attacks. "What do you know? Do you really think that the Eternal Life Divination Technique is so easy to use?" Upon hearing this, Ming Kei immediately rebuked angrily. Just now, he had used the Eternal Life Divination Technique, causing his body to be completely drained. Even if he had secretly taken some elixirs, he would still need some time to recover his divine origin force. "Sir." After being reprimanded, Jing Kuan immediately bowed and nodded. At this time, the people in the celestial realm became even more anxious. Because the motionless Night Sorrow had become a fish on the chopping board, allowing the knife to cut it. "We can't just watch Night Sorrow be killed. We have to think of a way." The anxious Wu Lingfei was about to cry. Seeing Yi Shang in such a state, her heart ached for him. I'm fine. At this moment, Night Sorrow suddenly transmitted his voice over. Then, his body began to move as well. What happened to you just now? Asked Wu Lingfei suspiciously. What's wrong with you? Just now, I used the sea serpent's eye to observe and used my heart to comprehend the power of destiny. Now, I can also use a move similar to Ming Ke. Really? Aren't you a little too strong? After being attacked once, you comprehended the opponent's unique skill? Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Master Wan Jian immediately said excitedly. It wasn't a matter of copying a cat and drawing a tiger. Instead, it was a comprehension of the concept. Comprehending a similar move. Night Sorrow explained and continued, I'll fight with him first. I'll talk about it later. After saying this, Night Sorrow soared into the sky and shot the Supreme Reincarnation Spear toward the endless starlight. This move was completely the momentum of the Overlord Spear. A huge light beam directly annihilated all the starlight in the sky. In a moment, the originally bright starry sky dimmed again. At this time, Night Sorrow looked at Ming Ke and said, The 3 moves I gave you are over. Now, it's time for you to receive my attack. I didn't expect you to recover. At this time, facing Night Sorrow again, Ming Ke was obviously a little flustered. After all, his divine origin force had not completely recovered. It's a pity that you haven't recovered. Killing you is like killing a chicken and cooking a rabbit. Night Sorrow used his divine origin force to scan and determined that Ming Ke had not recovered at all. He had no power to fight at all. At this time, he did not waste any time and directly shot the Forbidden Spear at him. Although the Forbidden Spear was not considered the strongest among Night Sorrow's skills, it was enough to deal with Ming Ke in front of him. It's true that I don't have the power to fight. But my battle pet has it. Come out. Life Amplification Magic Dragon. At this time, Ming Ke unwillingly summoned his battle pet. The Life Amplification Magic Dragon was half a step away from becoming an earthly supreme. The Life Amplification Magic Dragon was actually one of the guardian beasts of Life Amplification's territory. It had a very high status in Life Amplification's territory. Its combat strength was imaginable. Originally, it existed as a deterrent to check and balance the sacred beasts of other territories. At this time, it had come in handy. How dare you hurt my people in Life Amplification's territory? I won't let you go. The Life Amplification Magic Dragon was summoned. It immediately stretched out its huge dragon claws and directly grabbed Night Sorrow's golden heavenly halberd. Its strength was evident. Isn't it just a peak earthly supreme? What's there to be arrogant about? Facing the Life Amplification Magic Dragon, Night Sorrow was not afraid at all. He immediately activated the 33 Heavens Battle Secret Technique and raised his strength to the peak. Then, he suddenly shot the Supreme Reincarnation Spear at the Life Amplification Magic Dragon and Ming Ke. Supreme Reincarnation Spear? You've just used it once. I'm clear about the situation. It's not a threat at all. The Life Amplification Magic Dragon responded to Night Sorrow's Supreme Reincarnation Spear with disdain. Then, it used the Magic Dragon's power to fight against it. It successfully dissolved the spear. That was your strongest technique, wasn't it? Otherwise, you wouldn't have used it twice. The Life Amplification Magic Dragon said arrogantly after it dissolved the Supreme Reincarnation Spear. It did not take Night Sorrow seriously at all. At this time, Night Sorrow said with a murderous look, I was just testing your strength. My real killer move is right here. At the same time, Night Sorrow attacked Ming Ke and the Life Amplification Magic Dragon with the move that he had just figured out. Eternal Life Amplification Spear. Clan M. Chapter 3022. Eternal Life Amplification Spear? When Night Sorrow shouted this name, Ming Ke and Ming Yen Magic Dragon were both stunned. Because from the name, it was related to the Eternal Life Divination Technique, the strongest technique in the Life Divination territory. While they were surprised, Night Sorrow completely blasted out the Eternal Life Amplification Spear. This move was similar to the eternal life amplification technique, but the supreme reincarnation spear replaced the starlight in the sky. Oh no. This is exactly the same as our eternal life amplification technique. Senior Magic Dragon, be careful. Feeling the aura of the eternal life amplification spear, Ming Ke immediately warned. However, it was too late for him to react. Whether it was him or the life amplification magic dragon, they were both suppressed by fate. In an instant, Ming Ke and the life amplification magic dragon were stunned on the spot, looking exactly the same as Night Sorrow. However, Night Sorrow was comprehending the essence of the power of fate at that time. Ming Ke and the life amplification magic dragon were completely suppressed. Go to hell. At this moment, the eternal life amplification spear was already close to them. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow chose to attack Ming Quebec. After all, Ming Ke was the leader of the life amplification territory, and the life amplification magic dragon was only his battle pet. Boom! With a loud bang, the supreme reincarnation spear suddenly blasted Ming Ke's body. The geniuses of the 4 sacred lands were indeed full of treasures. Originally, Night Sorrow thought that this move would directly kill Ming Ke, but it was blocked by a secret treasure that automatically protected its owner. However, this protective armor was also shattered into powder in the blink of an eye. For a moment, Ming Ke became embarrassed and his clothes did not cover his body. Ming Ke, who had exchanged for being lost, was immediately furious when he saw that he had become like this. At the same time, he used his protective energy to cover his body. Night Sorrow, today, you will definitely die. I will cut you into pieces. Life Amplification Magic Dragon, cooperate with me. Ming Ke, who was angry out of humiliation, went completely crazy. He directly burned his bloodline power and entered a desperate posture. However, at this moment, the Life Amplification Magic Dragon was not attacked. It was still receiving the punishment of the power of destiny and had yet to awaken. For a time, Ming Ke felt extremely helpless. Without a doubt, it should be you. Night Sorrow sneered and used the Divine Origin trapping array to lock Ming Ke in. Then, he casually swung his golden heavenly halberd. Although it was just an ordinary attack, it had shattered Ming Ke's dantian. Then, without giving him a chance, he attacked his spirit once again. However, this time, Night Sorrow once again encountered resistance from the secret treasure. Not only did he fail to crush Ming Ke's spirit, but he was also injured by the backlash. If it wasn't for the fact that his divine soul was strong enough, his divine soul might have been destroyed. He was indeed a treasure snatcher. Let's see what else you can rely on next. After his soul was shaken, Night Sorrow snorted coldly and attacked again. Ming Ke no longer had the ability to resist. Seeing that he was about to die, his spirit immediately threatened, Night Sorrow, I came to Ming Yan's territory. How dare you kill me? Your territory in the realm of gods will be destroyed. My territory in the realm of gods already has a grudge with your territory. What's the use of talking nonsense? We're talking about points in life and death. That Night Sorrow said. Without any hesitation, he killed Ming Quebec. After Ming Ke was killed, the Ming Yan magic dragon immediately woke up. At this time, the deputy leader of Ming Yan's territory, Jing Kuan, immediately shouted, Master Ming Yan magic dragon, Master Ming Ke has been killed. Please kill Night Sorrow immediately to avenge him. I've thought about it too, but there's nothing I can do. Since Ming Ke has been killed, I can't stay here any longer. After saying that, the Ming Yan magic dragon was expelled from the Eternal Divine Tower. At this time, Jing Kuan was completely dumbfounded. Without Ming Ke, the strength of Ming Yan's territory suffered a devastating blow. Night Sorrow, I didn't misjudge you. You're indeed very strong. After Night Sorrow killed Ming Ke, Mu Tianai said with a smile, I'm still not as strong as you. Is that what you're trying to say? Night Sorrow glanced at Mu Tianai. He could feel that Mu Tianai was at ease. It was as if in his eyes, the battle between Night Sorrow and Ming Ke was a battle between juniors. Others might not be able to feel it, but Night Sorrow, who cultivated the power of virtue, could. Is that so? I don't feel that way. Mu Tianai still had that calm and confident smile on his face. I can feel your emotions. Night Sorrow replied and ignored Mu Tianai. Mu Tianai had an invincible will, and so did Night Sorrow. He felt that he would not lose if he encountered Mu Tianai. However, judging from the current situation, Mu Tianai must have a way to suppress him. Otherwise, Mu Tianai would not have acted like this. At this time, Xian Qingyu, the leader of Jiao Xian's territory, sent a voice transmission to Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow. Originally, I was going to kill you first. But you killed Ming Ke and removed the strongest obstacle for Jiao Xian's territory. So, I've decided to recruit you. Jiao Xian's territory will take first place, and you will take second place. What do you think? You should focus on increasing your strength. If I can kill Ming Ke, I can kill you too. Also, I want to take first place. As Yi Shang replied, he also revealed the goal he had in mind. All the territories in front of him had attacked the supreme longevity and the realm of the gods. In his heart, he swore to himself that he would suppress these territories. Now that Night Sorrow had become a half-step supreme, he had personally killed Ming Ke from Ming Yan's territory. Therefore, he told Xian Qingyu about his goal of taking first place. Xian Qingyu would never form an alliance with these people who had attacked the realm of the gods. You want to take first place in the Battle of Providence by yourself? I think you're dreaming. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, Xian Qingyu laughed and shouted at the others, "Listen to this. Night Sorrow from the realm of the gods wants to take first place in the Battle of Providence. This is the biggest joke in the world. Ha! You want to challenge the Jiao Xian territory by yourself? Or do you think you're a match for Mu Tianai?" After Xian Qingyu finished speaking, everyone in the Jiao Xian territory laughed. The other territories, including Ming Yan's territory, could not laugh. They had already felt the same pressure from Night Sorrow as they did from Mu Tianai. They even felt that even if they used all their strength, they would not be able to fight against him. For a moment, everyone in the Jiao Xian territory laughed. The atmosphere was very strange. Let's wait and see. Night Sorrow did not care about Xian Qingyu's mockery and the Jiao Xian territory's sneers. After saying that, he sat down and rested, waiting for the final battle to begin. At this point, not only did Night Sorrow have the ambition to be the champion, but the rest of the realm of the gods were also looking forward to it. They hoped that Night Sorrow could create an impossible miracle. With his own strength, he would lead the weak realm of the gods to take first place in the Battle of Providence. Chapter 30-23. There are still 2 territories that have yet to appear. I wonder if they have been eliminated. At this time, Wu Lingfei carefully reminded. If those 2 territories were eliminated, it meant that the realm of the gods would at least get the 6th place. This was an unprecedented result for the realm of the gods. It's not time yet. When it's time, everything will be revealed. Let me recover first. After saying that, Night Sorrow continued to recover, preparing to be in his best condition for the championship battle. About 3 days after Yi Shang had recovered, Yan Heng's shadow appeared. He announced to everyone that the Blood Fury territory and Annihilation territory had been eliminated. The remaining territories were Jiao Xian territory, Tian Shao territory, Realm of the Gods, Ming Yan territory, Saint Spirit territory, and Burning Sky territory. After saying this, Yan Hengshi smiled and said, "The order I just mentioned is the current strength ranking of each territory. I hope you can all achieve better results than this ranking. But obviously, this is impossible. Some people laugh, some people cry. The Realm of the Gods is actually ranked 3rd. Doesn't that mean that Night Sorrow alone can defeat us? Seems like it's impossible to avenge the Realm of the Gods." Hearing Yan Hengshi's words, Ming Yan territory's vice leader, Jing Kuan, said unhappily. Currently, it was not easy for them to maintain their position in the top 4. As for the Saint Spirit territory and Burning Sky territory, they were already satisfied with their current results. But they all wanted to rush into the top 4 and make history in the battle for Providence. At this moment, Xian Qingyu of the Nine Profound Estate smiled at the people of the Sacred Spirit Estate and the Burning Sky Estate. As long as the two of you pledge allegiance to the Nine Profound Estate and help us deal with Mu Tianai and Yishang, you'll be fine. I guarantee that you will enter the top 4. When he said this, the Saint Ape of the Saint Spirit Territory and Burning Sky Territories Fenmie did not dare to speak. Instead, they secretly replied that they were willing. They knew that Xian Qingyu was being too high profile. If the two of them agreed in public, they would definitely be resisted by the others. Cowards, the situation is so obvious, and you're still afraid. You're not someone who can accomplish anything. Xian Qingyu snorted in disdain when he heard the two's voice transmission. But he did not care too much. This time, it was the best opportunity for the Nine Profound Territory to create history. He was rather excited. As for Mu Tianai, his gaze once again landed on Night Sorrow. He waved his paper fan and said with a smile, "Among all the heroes in the world, only you and I are worthy." "You flatter me." Night Sorrow looked at Mu Tianai and said calmly. Hearing this, Xian Qingyu wore an unpleasant expression and said in a provoking tone, "I'm interested to see how the two of you are going to survive the duel." The Nine Profound Region's overall strength was originally already ranked in the number 1 position. At this time, with the addition of the Holy Spirit Territory and Burning Sky Territory, it could be said to be like adding wings to a tiger. This gave Xian Qingyu endless confidence. However, Mu Tianai merely glanced at him and ignored him. Instead, he turned to Night Sorrow and said, "I look forward to our battle. But before we fight, can we get rid of the noisy Xian Qingyu first?" After Mu Tianai finished speaking, Night Sorrow also glanced at Xian Qingyu and said, "It's impossible for us to work together. But I can agree to your request." "Bastard! If you have the guts, do it now." Seeing Mu Tianai and Night Sorrow's gazes, Xian Qingyu shouted indignantly. At this time, in the eyes of the people from the Life Evolution Territory, Holy Spirit Territory, and Burning Sky Territory, Night Sorrow, who was born in the realm of the gods, had become a terrifying existence similar to Mu Tianai. Your chance to fight will come soon." At this time, Yan Hengshi said with a smile, "As for the last round, it looks like a duel on the surface, but it's actually a process of seizing treasures. Get ready, after 10 breaths, I will send you to the Myriad Treasure Palace. There are treasures everywhere, and you can fight for them as you wish." He had been paying attention to the smell of gunpowder in the air. His mood was not affected. "Senior, I have something to ask." After Yan Hengshi finished speaking, Xian Qingyu suddenly spoke. Facing Yan Hengshi, he was more polite and did not act presumptuously. "Speak." Yan Hengshi's illusory figure waved his hand and said, "Senior, may I ask who you are?" Xian Qingyu asked curiously. In fact, even Night Sorrow was a little curious about this question. "I am one of the earliest living beings in the Eternal Supreme Realm who gained spiritual intelligence." Yan Hengshi replied and continued, "Okay. Time's up, you can get ready." "Senior." Xian Qingyu obviously wanted to ask more, but he could tell that Yan Hengshi did not want to say more, so he responded softly. Then, under the feet of the participants, a light circle of the teleportation formation appeared. After a flash of light, they collectively appeared outside the door of a small palace. After Night Sorrow activated the Eye of the Sea Serpent, he could even see the end of this palace. It was very small. "It looks like a big battle is inevitable." Night Sorrow looked around and was sure that there would be a big battle in this place. Boom, boom, boom. At this time, in the palace, some of the items that were originally very dim burst into a bright light one after another. That's a half step to earthly sovereign divine artifact. We can't miss it. In front of us, there is a secret treasure that we can't see the depth of. After the bright light burst out, a large number of divine artifacts, spiritual pills, materials, and other treasures all burst out with brilliance. Everyone, including Night Sorrow and Mu Tianai, could not help but open their eyes wide. The first thing that Night Sorrow saw was a spear-shaped divine artifact. The grade of this spear was much higher than the golden heavenly halberd in his hand. The golden heavenly halberd was just an ordinary divine artifact, while the nameless silver spear was at the level of a half-step to earthly sovereign. The difference was huge. Brother Yi, go and grab it. With it, you will be like a tiger that has grown wings. The myriad sword sect in the space cave also saw the silver spear in front of them and anxiously reminded them. No hurry. Let's see how the others perform first. If anyone tries to grab the silver spear, I will fight with them. In front of him, there were divine artifacts, secret treasures, and spiritual pills everywhere. Night Sorrow was not in a hurry to attack. At this time, Xian Qingyu's eyes had turned red. He laughed loudly and said, "Attack! We have an absolute advantage in numbers. The number of treasures we have will definitely crush Mu Tianai and Night Sorrow easily. When the time comes, killing them will be a piece of cake." After Xian Qingyu gave the order, the people of the Jiao Xian estate immediately moved and rushed into the palace. Seeing the people of the Jiao Xian estate move, the Divine Spirit estate and the Burning Sky estate, who had already decided to follow them, also moved. Clan. Chapter 30-24. Let's do it. But don't fight with anyone. We're in an awkward situation now. It's best to stay out of trouble. Seeing that the people from the 3 territories had begun to move, Jing Kuan, the vice leader of the Ming Yen territory, had ordered his people to fight for the treasure. However, he had ordered them not to fight with anyone. This was the most humiliating order in the history of the Ming Yen territory. However, Ming Ke had been killed by Night Sorrow. They could not join forces with Night Sorrow and Mu Tianai. Moreover, Xian Qingyu from the Jiao Xian territory had not extended an olive branch to them, so they could only tuck their tails between their legs. Brother Yi, everyone is moving. Why are you still sitting there? Seeing that Night Sorrow had not made a move, Mu Tianai walked over and smiled. There's no hurry. I want that silver spear. It's fine as long as no one fights for it. Night Sorrow looked at the silver spear and replied. There were many good things in the myriad treasure palace. Even he did not have the ability to understand them in an instant. As for the silver spear in front of him, he wanted it the moment he saw it. My target is the innermost pagoda. Mu Tianai pointed at a small pagoda in the deepest part of the palace. The small pagoda was only the size of a palm. If one did not look carefully, they would not be able to see its existence. After Mu Tianai finished speaking, Night Sorrow looked at it with the sea serpent's eye. This is the aura of an earthly sovereign artifact. Could it be the eternal divine tower? After looking at it with the sea serpent's eye, Night Sorrow immediately confirmed that the small pagoda was an earthly sovereign artifact. He asked in confusion. Hearing this, Mu Tianai smiled and said, I've heard that the real eternal divine tower only exists in legends, surpassing the Earth Supremes. Although the small pagoda in front of us is an earthly sovereign artifact, it's definitely not the eternal divine tower. Just as he finished speaking, Mu Tianai exclaimed, They seem to be in trouble. At this time, Night Sorrow looked at the people who had already made a move. After entering the palace, they were like ordinary people who had fallen into a quagmire. They could not fly at all and their speed had become extremely slow. Some of the weaker ones were even stuck in place, unable to move an inch. As for Xian Qingyu, he had already traveled 10,000 meters. His target was a half-step earthly supreme level longsword 20,000 meters away. The location of this longsword was 1,000 meters closer to the silver spear that Night Sorrow was paying attention to. It seems that one should take treasures of the same level as one's strength. Seeing the situation in front of him, Mu Tianai smiled and said. He thought for a moment and continued, If I'm not wrong, whoever goes the furthest will be the champion of this year's Battle of Providence. After all, the final champion of the War of Providence is not only determined by the strength of the territory, but also the strength of the individual. Yes, that's very likely. I'm making my move. Night Sorrow nodded and stepped into the palace ahead of Mu Tianai, heading towards the silver spear. The silver spear was too close to the long sword that Xian Qingyu wanted. If Xian Qingyu got the long sword, It would not be easy for him to get the silver spear. When Night Sorrow passed by the cultivators of the other territories, although they were hostile towards him, no one dared to attack him. At this time, Xian Qingyu was moving forward and did not care about these things. I got it. At this time, Jing Kuan of Ming Yen territory was the first to take an umbrella-shaped supreme artifact in his hand. Although this umbrella-shaped supreme artifact was of the same grade as the one in his hand, the aura that it exuded was much stronger. Holding it in his hand, Jing Kuan was very excited and was ready to move on to other items. If you want to get me, defeat me first. At this time, the weapon spirit of the umbrella-shaped supreme artifact appeared in the void. It attacked Jing Kuan. As the battle between them exploded, everyone understood that if they wanted to get the supreme artifact, they had to conquer it. While Jing Kuan and the weapon spirit were fighting, Night Sorrow was moving closer to the silver spear. He was about 5,000 meters away. At this time, he was close to the longsword that he had his eyes on. However, when he got closer, he did not take the longsword. Instead, he waited for Night Sorrow. Obviously, he was afraid that his battle with the longsword's weapon spirit would lead to Night Sorrow's sneak attack. In response, Night Sorrow, who was close to the longsword, smiled disdainfully and continued to move toward the silver spear. He did not take Xian Qingyu seriously at all. When he got close to the silver spear, Night Sorrow immediately realized that the silver spear was actually incomplete. However, in its incomplete state, it was still at the level of a half-step to earthly sovereign. Obviously, when it was in perfect condition, it should be at least an earthly sovereign artifact. Very good. Fight with me. I will help you to successfully return to your peak. Even surpass your previous strongest state. Standing near the silver spear, Night Sorrow immediately felt his chi and blood surging. You want to help my eternal silver dragon spear return to its peak? You are too arrogant. When the eternal silver dragon spear heard Night Sorrow's words, it immediately said disdainfully, I don't care how great you were in the past. Right now, your best choice is to submit to me. Otherwise, you will be covered in dust forever. Being despised by the eternal silver dragon spear, Night Sorrow said indifferently, If you want my eternal silver dragon spear to surrender, then show me your true strength. It's useless to talk nonsense here. After the eternal silver dragon spear said that, it completely exploded with a shocking aura. Obviously, it was much more powerful than an ordinary half-step to earthly sovereign artifact. What did Night Sorrow choose? Why is its aura so powerful? The people who were in the middle of the battle were all shocked when they saw the aura of the silver spear that Night Sorrow had chosen. God is really on my side. Night Sorrow, after you make your move, you will die. Xian Qingyu, who was closest to him, laughed. At this moment, he still did not attack the longsword that he had chosen. He wanted to launch a sneak attack after Night Sorrow made his move. If you are confident enough, then launch a sneak attack on me. At this moment, Night Sorrow looked at Xian Qingyu and said that. Then he started to fight with the eternal silver dragon spear. Although the eternal silver dragon spear was only controlled by the artifact spirit, its attack was very fierce. It was like a silver dragon, but also like lightning. It was extremely fast. Very good. It's powerful enough. Night Sorrow, who was holding the golden heavenly halberd, saw how powerful the eternal silver dragon spear was, and his body instantly exploded with the strongest fighting spirit. Although the golden heavenly halberd was much weaker than the eternal silver dragon spear, in the hands of Night Sorrow, the combat power that it released was obviously not inferior to the other party. For a moment, the two sides were engaged in an earth-shattering battle. After fighting for a while, no one could do anything to the other. How dare you threaten me? Let's see how you will die. What can you do if I attack? At this moment, Xian Qingyu, who looked sinister, saw that Mu Tianai had also started to fight with a divine artifact. Immediately, he took out a secret treasure and threw it at Night Sorrow. Clan M. Chapter 3025. Xian Qingyu threw out a secret treasure that looked like a pot lid. It looked like a pot lid, but its aura was very powerful. It was obviously of the supreme level. And it was very special. After it was thrown out, it immediately smashed Night Sorrow's protective divine domain. After shattering Yishang's protective divine domain, the secret treasure that looked like a pot lid flew straight back to its owner. Xian Qingyu, you're good. Night Sorrow, whose divine domain was smashed, did not panic. Instead, he continued to fight with the eternal silver dragon spear. His combat strength had decreased to a certain extent after his divine domain was broken. It was a little uncomfortable to be suppressed by the eternal silver dragon spear. As for the eternal silver dragon spear, it did not seem to care about Xian Qingyu's sneak attack on Night Sorrow. It was still attacking Night Sorrow crazily. At this moment, Night Sorrow, who was feeling unhappy, completely exploded. He used the 33 Heavens battle secret technique and raised his strength to the strongest. He said coldly, I don't want to destroy the spear body, so I've been holding back. Since you, as an artifact spirit, don't cooperate, then I'll annihilate you. You only know how to spout nonsense. This artifact spirit will destroy you right now. The eternal silver dragon spear replied arrogantly, and its attack became even fiercer. It was obvious that this artifact spirit had that kind of fierce personality. Soon, you will understand how ridiculous your choice is. Night Sorrow said coldly and roared, Eternal Life Amplification Spear. He still attacked the eternal silver dragon spear with this move. In his opinion, he had to settle the internal situation first to resist the external threat. Boom. The moment Night Sorrow attacked with the eternal life amplification, the eternal silver dragon spear, which was originally fierce, was immediately frozen in place and stopped all attacks. Facing the power of destiny that Night Sorrow had deduced, as an artifact spirit, he had no ability to fight back at all. It was immediately shattered into pieces. This time, are you convinced? Night Sorrow asked as he reached out and grabbed the artifact spirit of the eternal silver dragon spear in his hand. My eternal silver dragon spear would rather break than bend. Although your strength is stronger than mine, you are not qualified to make me submit to you. Just kill me. The weapon spirit of the eternal silver dragon spear said this out of the blue. There's a saying that a wise man submits to circumstances. Since you don't know what's good for you, you can only be annihilated. Your era is over. Be destroyed. Even though the spear spirit of the eternal silver dragon spear was defeated, it still looked down on Night Sorrow. This made Night Sorrow a little annoyed. He directly shattered the spear spirit of the eternal silver dragon spear and completely obliterated it. Then he glanced at the eternal silver dragon spear and said, I gave you a way out, but you didn't take it. You can only become a material. After saying that, Night Sorrow threw the eternal silver dragon spear into the golden heavenly halberd. Let the golden heavenly halberd completely absorb the eternal silver dragon spear. After absorbing the eternal silver dragon spear, the golden heavenly halberd was instantly promoted to half-step earthly sovereign. As for the eternal silver dragon spear, it would forever disappear in the long river of history. Night Sorrow, you've really wasted a great gift. You don't want such a good divine weapon and instead, you use it as a material. Seeing Night Sorrow make such a choice, Xian Qingyu immediately mocked him. If I'm not wrong, the other people in the Jiao Xian territory shouldn't have come here. At this time, Night Sorrow looked coldly at Xian Qingyu and said, Next, we should settle the score for the sneak attack just now. If they can't come, I'll just leave. I don't want the long sword in front of me anymore. Let's see what you can do to me. Xian Qingyu, who did not have much confidence in facing Night Sorrow, said and began to retreat. At this time, Night Sorrow did not pursue him. This was because he realized that Mu Tianai had also obtained a divine weapon, and he was already walking toward the small pagoda in the distance. The small pagoda should be 108,000 meters away. With his strength, he shouldn't be able to reach it. Seeing that Mu Tianai kept moving forward toward the small pagoda, he was puzzled and looked at some of the spiritual pills and secret treasures nearby. For him, the small pagoda was out of his reach. According to Night Sorrow's judgment, with the strength of half-step supremes, It was already very good for them to be able to walk 60,000 to 70,000 meters. It was impossible for them to reach the small pagoda. After that, Mu Tianai continued to move forward, but Night Sorrow soon fought with other spiritual pills and weapon spirits. Soon he obtained many half-step supremes. Unknowingly, Night Sorrow had already walked more than 40,000 meters. Mu Tianai stopped at 71,000 meters, unable to go any further. Seeing Mu Tiany's performance, Night Sorrow relaxed a little. Now that he had obtained so many good things, he should not be inferior to Mu Tiany's ability. Therefore, he continued to fight with other opportunities without worrying. At this time, Xian Qinyu gathered all the people from the 3 territories and rushed toward Night Sorrow's position. They seemed to have obtained an incredible divine weapon that could temporarily resist the suppression of the palace. What's going on? Inside the space cave, Myriad Sword Sect saw the people from the 3 territories rushing toward Night Sorrow without being affected. He asked in surprise. They don't have such ability by themselves. They must have obtained some secret treasure. Seeing the people from the 9 Mysteries Estate, Divine Spirit Estate, and Burning Sky Estate approaching him, Night Sorrow did not panic. He moved and continued to walk deeper. He did not believe that the secret treasure in the palace would be so mysterious that it could block the suppression without limit. As expected, when the people from the 3 territories reached about 40,000 meters, ordinary cultivators could no longer move forward. Then only Xian Qinyu, the leader of the Divine Spirit Estate, Holy Ape, and Burning Sky Estates Fenye were left. You guys stay here and see if you can get some opportunities. Also, stop the people from the Life Extension Estate and don't let them overtake us. The 3 of us will deal with Night Sorrow and Mu Tianai, Xian Qinyu said. Then he led the leader of the Divine Spirit Estate, Holy Ape, and Burning Sky Estates Fenye toward Night Sorrow's position. With the help of the secret treasure, the 3 people who were weaker than Night Sorrow gradually closed the distance between them. At this moment, Mu Tianai suddenly sat down and meditated. His aura seemed to have changed in an instant. Mu Tianai, are you trying to advance to the Supreme Being level here and then fight for the small pagoda? Seeing the change in Mu Tiany's aura, Night Sorrow immediately realized what he was trying to do. At this moment, Xian Qinyu shouted, Mu Tianai wants to advance to the Supreme Being level. It will take a while. The 3 of us. Kill Night Sorrow first, then kill Mu Tianai. As long as we kill them, we will be able to take the top 3 places. But we will do our best. The leader of the Divine Spirit Estate, Holy Ape, and Burning Sky Estates Fenye said in unison. At this moment, Night Sorrow was not far away from Mu Tianai. He could easily lead the battle to Mu Tiany's position. However, he did not do that. Instead, he faced Xian Qinyu and the other 2 alone. Clan M. Chapter 30-26. Night Sorrow. Let's see how you're going to escape this time. Xian Qinyu, who was leading the Holy Ape from the Holy Spirit territory and Fenye from the Burning Sky territory, chased after Night Sorrow. At this moment, the palace's suppression was very strong. Although they had secret treasures on them, their movements were still very slow. If they were to fight, there wouldn't be any flying skills. It would be more like a fight between martial arts experts. Everything would seem to be returning to its original state. In this situation, Night Sorrow wasn't afraid. He looked at Xian Qinyu and said, I'm not going to escape. After saying that, Night Sorrow grasped the golden heavenly halberd in his hand. He originally thought that in the final battle, he would face many cultivators from these territories. Now that he was facing Xian Qinyu, Holy Ape, and Fenye, he felt that he had won. At least, Mu Tianai didn't fight against him with them. After all, the territories of the Divine Realm could be said to be enemies with the whole world. If you're not going to escape, then prepare to die. Xian Qinyu, who was facing Night Sorrow, had a crazy look on his face. In his opinion, he only had 2 opponents left. As long as he defeated Night Sorrow and Mu Tianai, the 9 Profound territory would be the final champion. Therefore, he was very excited at this moment. Moreover, Mu Tianai was trying to break through to the supremacy realm. Xian Qingyu was a little anxious. He didn't want him to succeed. After saying that, he shouted, "Attack! Use your strongest move. Kill him instantly. We're 3 against 1, there's no way we can't kill him." But we can't delay, Mu Tianai is still there. The holy ape from the Holy Spirit territory was like his name, an ape-like Holy Spirit. He was very tall and spoke loudly. Not only did his words put pressure on Night Sorrow, but it also made Mu Tianai, who was cultivating, frown. Mu Tianai was so shocked by his words that he vomited blood. Obviously, the holy ape wasn't just talking. He directly used a sound wave attack on Mu Tianai. However, Mu Tianai didn't stop his rhythm because of this and continued to cultivate. At this moment, the holy ape from the Holy Spirit territory smiled and continued, "When the battle starts, I won't let Mu Tianai off." "Very good." Xian Qingyu smiled and said, "Let's attack together and eliminate Night Sorrow." "Good." Burning Heaven's 7 slaughter art. Incineration responded and immediately attacked Night Sorrow. Originally, this move of his could have produced an earth-shattering effect. However, under the suppression of the palace, the area of effect was much smaller. Even so, it was still able to burn a large area. Not only did the flames engulf Night Sorrow, but they also affected Mu Tianai. This made Mu Tianai extremely uncomfortable. At this moment, Night Sorrow was rather speechless. Because he was wearing the Phoenix battle armor, he was basically unafraid of fire. This burning flame attack did not pose any threat to him at all. Night Sorrow thought to himself, "If I'm not mistaken, this incineration won't have any effect at all." However, that was not the case in the eyes of Xian Qingyu and the others. When he and Sacred Ape saw that Night Sorrow was covered in flames, they felt that Night Sorrow must have been suppressed. Thus, they each began to attack. Sacred Ape took out an incomparably huge iron rod and smashed it towards Night Sorrow's position with great force. As for Xian Qingyu, he took out a disc-like Dharma artifact from his spatial artifact and threw it towards Night Sorrow's head. After this Dharma artifact was thrown out, it immediately emitted a dark black light. After being illuminated by this black light, Night Sorrow felt that 10% of the strength in his body seemed to have been sucked away. Treastrimsa Heaven Battle's secret technique. After losing 10% of his strength, Night Sorrow instantly used the Treastrimsa Heaven Battle's secret technique to increase his strength. Holding the golden heavenly halberd, he smashed it towards Sacred Ape's iron rod. An earth-shattering sound of metal colliding rang out. When everyone saw this, they were immediately shocked. Night Sorrow's golden heavenly halberd had actually made a dent in Sacred Ape's divine tool with one strike. Night Sorrow's divine tool is terrifyingly hard. Both of you be careful. Sacred Ape was very distressed that his divine tool had been damaged in one strike. Xian Qingyu snorted and said, "Who cares if it's terrifying or not? Let's just attack together. 2 fists are no match for 4 hands. He definitely won't be able to withstand our attacks." After saying this, Xian Qingyu took out his supreme-grade longsword. Previously, he had been guarding against Night Sorrow and had not used his half-step earthly supreme-grade longsword. This was because his divine tool was also a grade lower than Night Sorrow's. As for Incinerate, the sudden appearance of his own flames did not seem to have much effect on Night Sorrow. After thinking for a while, he took out a pair of bronze hammers from his spatial artifact. His pair of bronze hammers looked very small, only the size of a palm. However, they gave off an extremely heavy feeling. This pair of bronze hammers seems very extraordinary. Night Sorrow used the sea serpent's eye to observe them and immediately felt that this pair of bronze hammers was different from the rest. It was different from the Samsara heavenly halberd and Xian Qingyu's longsword. It gave off a sense of vicissitudes of history. At first glance, one could tell that it was a divine tool that had been passed down from ancient times. Not only did Night Sorrow realize this, Xian Qingyu also praised, "This pair of bronze hammers is very extraordinary. With their help, it will be easier for us to kill Night Sorrow. This is a life-saving item that the holy leader gave to me." Incinerate said as he raised the bronze hammers and threw them towards Night Sorrow. There was no need for Incinerate to control them. The pair of bronze hammers attacked Night Sorrow ferociously. After the collision with the bronze hammers, Night Sorrow suddenly realized that this was a damaged earthly supreme-grade divine tool. At this moment, he was puzzled. If there had been an earthly supreme-grade divine tool many years ago, then there must have been an earthly supreme-grade divine tool. However, in the eternal supreme world, the first earthly supreme-grade divine tool was Supreme Longevity. And Supreme Longevity's survival was not that long ago. It gave off a feeling that it was not as old as the pair of bronze hammers in front of him. What's going on? Could it be that there was an even older existence in the foggy area that Xie Jian spoke of? And where did he get this pair of bronze hammers from? If he got it from there, does that mean that the people in Burning Sky territory already know the secret of becoming an earthly supreme-grade divine tool? At this moment, Night Sorrow, who was fighting against the bronze hammers, was suddenly filled with thoughts. However, these were all guesses without much evidence. He was not sure if he was prepared. Moreover, Xian Qingyu and the Holy Ape were already attacking him. Both sides quickly formed a situation where three heroes were fighting against Lu Bu. No matter how strong Night Sorrow's close combat skills were, he did not have the ability to be distracted and think about problems. Wielding the golden heavenly halberd, he fought against the three of them. Among the three of them, Incinerate's divine tool was the best and gave Night Sorrow the most pressure. Against his bronze hammers, Night Sorrow felt as if he was fighting against the heavens and earth. It was a very special feeling. At this moment, he had a slight epiphany in his heart. However, as he was in the middle of a battle, he naturally would not stop to cultivate. Instead, he continuously waved the golden heavenly halberd and fought madly. Chapter 30:27. Everyone had been fighting for about 100 breaths of time, and they were all evenly matched. Night Sorrow's strength was definitely stronger than Xian Qingyu and the rest. However, he was facing three top geniuses after all. Even he found it difficult to gain an absolute advantage in a short period of time. However, the golden heavenly halberd that had absorbed the eternal silver dragon spear was very capable. In the confrontation with the strange copper hammers, it was not at a disadvantage at all. What surprised Night Sorrow the most was that the fire beacon smoke diagram he used did not have any effect on the three people in front of him. This was because the moment he took out the fire beacon smoke diagram, the other party threw out a defensive secret treasure. Both sides were completely matched. It seems that if I want to completely injure one of them, I can only use the Eternal Life Amplification Spear. After thinking for a moment, Night Sorrow decided to use his current strongest killing move, Eternal Life Amplification Spear. However, using this move was very dangerous. Because the consumption was too great, if he could not seriously injure at least one person in one strike, he would definitely fall into a disadvantage. It's not a good idea to continue like this. Eternal Life Amplification Spear. After deciding to use this move, Night Sorrow found an opportunity to use a Divine Essence Trap Array on Xian Qingyu and a Merit Trap Array on Sacred Ape. Moreover, he directly used the Eternal Life Amplification Spear on Fenmia. At present, the strongest person on the other side was Xian Qingyu, but what made Night Sorrow the most uncomfortable was still Fenmia's pair of copper hammers. Furthermore, the roar of Sacred Ape during battle could disturb Mu Tianai, who was cultivating. Therefore, without thinking, he locked onto Fenmia. Not good. After being locked onto by Night Sorrow's Eternal Life Amplification Spear, Fenmia felt that something was wrong. He felt that at this moment, his throat was grabbed by the power of destiny, and he instantly lost the ability to resist. It seems that you can't resist the power of destiny. Night Sorrow suddenly used the golden heavenly halberd to pierce Fenmia's dantian while he was motionless. Moreover, under the interference of the copper hammers, Fenmia's divine soul was destroyed. Once Fenmia died, the pair of copper hammers immediately became ownerless and no longer resisted. Night Sorrow immediately put the hammer back into his grotto heaven and said, "This hammer is very special, but I don't have time to observe it." You guys study it. This bronze hammer is clearly an ancient artifact. It gives off a sense of vicissitudes from billions of years ago. It's definitely not an ordinary object. After taking a look, Xiao Tianxian made his judgment. I feel it too. However, I feel that this bronze hammer is not as simple as an ordinary divine artifact. It would be a waste to burn it down. See if you can figure out what it does. Knight Sorrow instructed. Everyone could feel that this copper hammer was extraordinary. Since it was not an ordinary item, it was definitely not an ordinary close combat divine weapon. At this time, Wu Lingfei reminded, Knight Sorrow, leave the matter of the hammer to us. Focus on the battle. Good. Now that they've lost Fan Mie, the threat shouldn't be too great. After saying that, Knight Sorrow turned his attention back to Xian Qinyu and Sacred Ape. Seeing that Fan Mie had been killed, Xian Qinyu cursed angrily, damn it. I was careless just now. I was trapped by his sudden move, or I would have been able to save Fan Mie. I couldn't react in time. Sacred Ape sighed. Knight Sorrow was very glad. If he had not been able to kill Fan Mie with that move, he would have been in an extremely dangerous situation. Brother Qingyu, what should we do now? Sacred Ape asked guiltily. Previously, the three of them were evenly matched with Knight Sorrow. Now that there were only two left, there were only two of them left. We'll give up on Knight Sorrow and attack Mu Tianai directly. These two hidden dangers, one is better than the other. Xian Qinyu thought for a moment and locked his gaze on Mu Tianai. At this time, Mu Tianai was cultivating and he was ready to launch a sneak attack. Alright, in a moment, we will launch a sneak attack on him. If he dares to cultivate in such an environment, he must be overconfident. Sacred Ape replied with telepathy and continued to fight Knight Sorrow with Xian Qinyu. Something's not right. After a few rounds, Knight Sorrow realized that Xian Qinyu and Sacred Ape's attacks were getting weaker and weaker. He was surprised. He thought that Xian Qinyu and Sacred Ape were plotting something. However, Knight Sorrow soon realized that Xian Qinyu and Sacred Ape's real target was Mu Tianai. Knight Sorrow did not stop them. Although Mu Tianai did not show any hostility, if they wanted to fight for the championship, they would have to fight. He was not stupid enough to help his enemy and let his enemy break through to a higher cultivation level to deal with him. That was not benevolence, it was stupidity. Xian Qinyu, how dare you? You can't defeat Knight Sorrow, so you're trying to provoke me. Mu Tianye's thoughts of advancing to a higher cultivation level were completely disrupted. His face, which was originally emotionless, was now filled with hatred. Xian Qinyu and Sacred Ape immediately showed signs of fear when they saw his cold killing intent. Sacred Ape was puzzled. Logically speaking, he should have suffered a serious backlash when his cultivation was interrupted. Why can't I see it now? It should be a disguise. I think he's just putting up a strong front. Xian Qinyu said. Now that things had come to this, they had no way out and could only bite the bullet. Otherwise, it would be too embarrassing. The mysterious Mu Tianai is finally going to make a move. After Mu Tianai, Xian Qinyu, and Sacred Ape started fighting. Knight Sorrow was not the only one who had his eyes locked on them. Even Xiao Tianxian, Wu Lingfei, and the others were watching the battle. Looking at it, everyone's hearts sank. Mu Tianya's combat strength was too terrifying. When he fought, he held a paper fan in his hand and easily suppressed the two of them. Do you think that you're my match just because you can't defeat Knight Sorrow? Xian Qinyu, the biggest advantage of the Jiuxian territory is that you have more people. Not your personal combat strength. You're destined to be useless in this palace. Because this place belongs to the strong. After Mu Tianai finished speaking, he completely exploded. His combat strength was not stronger than Knight Sorrow's, but Xian Qinyu and Sacred Ape were still unable to resist him. Under such circumstances, the two of them wanted to escape. But the secret treasures they had just used were greatly reduced. In terms of speed, they could not compare to Mu Tianai and were quickly killed by him. After killing Xian Qinyu and Sacred Ape, Mu Tianai smiled and walked to Knight Sorrow's side. Although I don't know the rules, The champion will be between you and me. Shall we fight now or fight for the treasures first? Whatever you want, I'll accompany you. Night Sorrow looked at Mu Tianai. At this time, there were only the two of them left. There was nothing else for them to guard against. Clan M. Chapter 3028. I think we should team up for the time being. We'll go back and eliminate everyone else. When it's just the two of us, we'll go all out. This way, we'll at least be able to get into the top two. Mu Tianai looked at Night Sorrow and said. Night Sorrow did not recover immediately. Mu Tianai sighed and said, originally, I wanted to advance to the supreme stage and then take down the small pagoda. But now, I don't have that hope anymore. I can only focus on fighting for the championship. Brother Yi, don't agree with him. I feel that this Mu Tianai is very strange. But I can't tell what's wrong with him. But he's definitely not as humble as he looks. Hearing Mu Tianyu's words, Myriad Sword Sect immediately reminded him. It's fine. We're not afraid of him. Night Sorrow replied Myriad Sword Sect, then looked at Myriad Sword Sect and said, okay. But we'll attack immediately. Wipe them all out. Mu Tianai, who withdrew his murderous aura, gave off a refreshing feeling. Night Sorrow felt that the feeling Mu Tianai gave him was very similar to the feeling he had when he obtained the pair of copper hammers. Both of them had the aura of vicissitudes. If he did not obtain the incinerated copper hammers, he would not have known this. Could it be that this Mu Tianai came from the fog area? Thinking of this, Night Sorrow could not help but be vigilant. After that, Night Sorrow and Mu Tianai temporarily joined forces and returned to attack the people of the four territories. Under the cooperation of Night Sorrow and Mu Tianai, the people of the four territories were finally completely united. But they were still eliminated one after another. After eliminating the people of the four territories, Mu Tianai glanced at Night Sorrow and said, we've consumed a lot, but we've also gained a lot. Why don't we start the final battle half a month later? We can't agree to this. Hearing this, Shao Tianxin immediately said, asking Night Sorrow to reject it. Myriad Sword Sect agreed with this. Yes. That's right, we can't agree to this. If he advances to the supreme stage in half a month, we'll be in danger. This is the same as releasing a tiger back into the mountains. At this time, Wu Lingfei suddenly said, agree. However, both sides had to agree that they would not fight for half a month. Make him swear an oath. There's nothing wrong with your character, but he doesn't know if you'll go back on your word. You said that, didn't you? Shao Tianxian asked in puzzlement after Wu Lingfei finished speaking. Wu Lingfei continued, I've discovered the hammer's secret. We can help Night Sorrow seize the tower, as long as he could get his hands on that earthly sovereign level pagoda. So what if he can become a supreme being? Are you that confident? Shao Tianxian asked doubtfully. It shouldn't be a problem. Wu Lingfei nodded. The true name of this pair of hammers should be restriction-breaking hammers. When it was in perfect condition, it could break through all earthly sovereign seals. Although I've already suffered heavy injuries, I can still break through all the restrictions below the earthly supreme level. I see. If the hammers can break through the restrictions, then getting close to the small pagoda will be very easy. Master Wan Jian was also excited, but then he said, but every artifact here has to go through a battle before it can be subdued. Although Brother Yi is a genius, how can he be a match for the small pagoda's artifact spirit? That small pagoda doesn't have an artifact spirit. Wu Lingfei explained, this is what the artifact spirit of the hammers saw. Now, one of the hammers has already recognized me as its master. With Wu Lingfei's explanation, everyone suddenly understood. Originally, the hammers were divided into male and female. Now, the female hammer had already recognized her as its master. The male hammer was waiting for Night Sorrow. So this pair of hammers has such an ability. Hearing them talking about Night Sorrow, he thought for a moment and felt that he should choose to agree with Mu Tianai. So he said, you and I swear an oath to the heavenly Tao that we won't fight for half a month. Good. That's exactly what I want. Mu Tianai smiled and happily swore an oath to the heavenly Tao. Then he turned around and left, not caring at all whether Night Sorrow swore an oath or not. This Mu Tianai seems to think that he has taken advantage of us. After seeing Mu Tianai turn around and leave, he increased the distance between them and began to cultivate again. Obviously, he wanted to break through to the supremacy stage again. When he entered the state of cultivation, Master Wan Jian laughed. Ignore him, let's go get the small pagoda. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, he communicated with the male hammers and asked them to recognize him as their master. After the hammers recognized him as their master, Night Sorrow completely understood their history. It turned out that this pair of hammers really did come from the fog area. However, they were damaged and did not have a deep memory of the fog area. He did not get much useful information from them. He only knew that the fog area was very dangerous and there were all kinds of powerful existences. It really can break through the restrictions. Then, Night Sorrow summoned the hammers. Sure enough, they could continuously break through the restrictions. They broke the restrictions, binding him bit by bit. Soon, they arrived at the 90,000-meter mark. After arriving at this position, Night Sorrow turned around and looked at Mu Tianai. He found that Mu Tianyai's aura had completely soared to the sky. This was the sign of a breakthrough. Therefore, Night Sorrow asked the male hammers, "That person's aura, did he also come from the fog area? Can you see through his depth? That person should be the reincarnation of an expert. If no one disturbs him, he will definitely break through to the supremacy stage." The male hammers replied and continued, "Why don't you attack him now and sneak up on him? You can definitely defeat him in one fell swoop." "I've already sworn an oath to not attack him for half a month." Night Sorrow shook his head and said, "Let's continue forward." He knew that any earthly supremacy divine artifact was extremely extraordinary. If he could get the small pagoda, he would definitely be able to fight Mu Tianai. This Mu Tianai was very special. He was the first evenly matched opponent Night Sorrow had encountered in the same realm. The restriction-breaking hammer is really powerful. After Yi Shang finished speaking, the restriction-breaking hammer continued to attack, bringing him to a position of 100,000 meters. He was only 8,000 meters away from the small pagoda. The myriad sword sect could not help but praise. "This is nothing. When we were at our peak, we could even break the seals of earthly supremacies." Hearing this, the male hammers said disdainfully and continued to break the seals. At this time, Moon Feather Earthly Supremacy, who was watching from the sidelines, could not help but frown. "I didn't expect Night Sorrow to be able to survive until now. If this continues, the Earthly Supremacy Divine Artifact will definitely be taken by him." Feng Wuji shook his head and said, "An Earthly Supremacy Divine Artifact will not be so easily controlled by an overlord. Even if it does not have an artifact spirit, it will not be so easily subdued." As for the other supremacies present, they did not look too good. This was especially so for the supremacy from the Burning Sky territory. When he saw the restriction-breaking hammer's ability, he was so angry that his face turned red. If they had known earlier that the restriction-breaking hammer was so powerful in breaking seals, they would not have handed it over to Fenmie. Clan M. Chapter 3029. No matter what, Night Sorrow has shown that he is not inferior to the Supreme Longevity. When he comes out, I will definitely kill him. Moon Feather Earthly Sovereign looked at Yi Shang with a cold expression. On the surface, he did not want Night Sorrow to obtain the replica of the Eternal Divine Tower. However, he was already looking forward to it. This was because he felt that there was no difference between him and Night Sorrow obtaining it. Everyone present was well aware of this matter, but no one dared to say it out loud. Feng Wuji was not in the mood to do so. Then, under everyone's gaze, Night Sorrow relied on the restriction-breaking hammer and approached the small tower step by step. When he was close enough, he took a deep breath and summoned the small tower. There is no response. I can confirm that there is no artifact spirit. After saying that, Yishang decided to take action and take the small pagoda. Wu Lingfei reminded him, "Be careful. The earthly sovereign artifact is definitely not that simple." "Don't worry," Night Sorrow replied. At this time, Xiao Tianxin also explained, "The earthly sovereign divine artifact is extraordinary." He tried to communicate with it again. If there was no response. If there is no response, you can just take it. "Alright. I will be careful. I will try again. If it doesn't work, I will take action." Night Sorrow replied and tried to communicate with the small tower again. He still did not get anything. He used his power of merit and tried to wrap it around the small tower, but there was still no response. "Since there is no response, I can only take it by force." According to everyone's reminder, Night Sorrow had already done what he needed. However, there was still no response from the small tower. Night Sorrow wanted to take it into his space. Buzz. However, after Night Sorrow made his move, he was met with a huge echo. The small tower did not move at all. "I will try to get closer," Yishang said and walked towards Lil Pagoda. Although the replica of the Eternal Divine Tower was without an owner, it had its own defense. After getting closer, Night Sorrow immediately felt its oppressive power. That kind of suppression came from the Earth Sovereign level, and Night Sorrow had more or less absorbed some of it. Otherwise, he definitely wouldn't be able to withstand it. At this moment, he had activated the 33 Heavens Battle Secret Technique, the Phoenix Battle Armor, and the Power of Virtue. With these, he was able to slowly approach the small pagoda. After getting closer, Night Sorrow gently touched the small tower with his fingertips. Boom! Just as Night Sorrow's fingertips touched small pagoda immediately retaliated. It sent Night Sorrow flying. The tremors were so severe that even the people in the God World's paradise were shaken to the core. Even though Night Sorrow's body was made of copper and iron, he was still shaken to the point that several of his bones were fractured. After swallowing a few recovery pills, Night Sorrow said, "This small pagoda shouldn't be so easy to conquer. I'm going to try and see if I can make it recognize me as its master by dripping my blood on it." Good. At this point, we can only try our best. The knowledge of the people in the God world was not outstanding at all in the eternal supreme world. No one could give Night Sorrow any useful advice. After he spoke, Master Wan Jian agreed. "I'll give it a try now." After making up his mind, without any hesitation, he took out some blood from his fingertips and dripped it on small pagoda. However, a moment later, these few drops of blood were spat out by the small tower. Obviously, this imitation of the eternal divine pagoda rejected his blood very much. "Blood won't work either. How should I do it?" Night Sorrow glanced at Mu Tianai and found that Mu Tianya's aura was getting stronger and stronger. He was not far away from the Earth Sovereign level. He said anxiously, no matter what, he wanted to defeat all his opponents and bring back the championship for the God world. However, if Mu Tianai successfully broke through and he didn't make any contributions, he would be no match for him even if he fought to the death. This Mu Tianai in front of him was obviously not ordinary. He killed Xian Qinyu and the Holy Ape as if they were toys. Even if he didn't break through, he would still be difficult to deal with. Breaking through to the Earth's sovereign level was like leaping through the Dragon's Gate. His strength would definitely increase by leaps and bounds. At this moment, Xiong Chue suddenly said, "Master, your method is not very reliable. Do you know other ways to make a divine artifact recognize you as its master?" The Forbidden Copper Hammer used to be an earthly sovereign divine artifact. Although it was severely damaged, causing the artifact spirit to lose some of its memories, Xiong Chue knew more about it. When it came to making a divine artifact recognize its master, it knew more than Night Sorrow. When he heard this, he immediately asked with anticipation. "According to my senses, this earthly sovereign divine artifact didn't come from the foggy area. However, it's an imitation of a divine artifact in the foggy area." Xiong Chue said and continued, "I remember that there is only one way to make a divine artifact recognize you as its master in the foggy area. That is to match your fate." "Match your fate? What do you mean?" Hearing this, Night Sorrow was puzzled. The others in the god world had no idea what Xiong Chue was talking about. Match your fate is the only way to make a divine artifact recognize you as its master in the foggy area. Xiong Chue continued. Do you know how to match your fate? Night Sorrow asked expectantly. I know. However, if you want me to hand it over to you, I have a condition. Xiong Chue said with some embarrassment. Hearing this, Night Sorrow smiled and said, If you have any conditions, just tell me. If I can fulfill them, I will try my best to fulfill them. But then I'll say it. Actually, we let you and Wu Lingfei recognize you as its master so that one day, we can completely recover. I hope that in the future, if you get any earthly sovereign level materials, you will give them to us first. Let us return to our peak. The male hammer of the restriction-breaking hammer slowly stated his request. I agree to this condition. Before you recover to the level of earthly sovereign, I will give you priority to devour any materials that I get. Hearing the other party's request, Yi Shan agreed without hesitation. This was because such a request was nothing. Good. Then I will immediately teach you the method of matching your fate. After receiving Yi Shang's affirmation, the weapon spirit of the male hammer was extremely excited. It immediately transmitted the method of matching birth charts to Yi Shang. So that's how it is. After learning the secret method, Night Sorrow immediately understood. It turned out that matching fate was basically the same as the literal meaning. It was to let Night Sorrow provide his fate to the small tower. If his fate or future could meet the potential requirements of the small tower, it would be able to recognize him as its master. If his fate was not as good as the small tower and did not meet its requirements, then there was no way to make it recognize him as its master. Everyone, I have mastered the secret method. Now I will try it one last time. This time I will either succeed or die trying. After saying this, Night Sorrow began to use the fate matching technique on the small tower. Clan M. Chapter 30:30. When Night Sorrow used the fate-matching technique, Small Pagoda shook violently. However, it did not continue to attack Night Sorrow or shake him away. At this moment, Night Sorrow felt as if his mind and Small Pagoda were one. His past was quickly read by Small Pagoda, and Small Pagoda also read Night Sorrow's mysterious fate. I wonder if it will succeed. Small Pagoda kept shaking, and Wu Lingfei, who was in the space grotto heaven, said worriedly, If Night Sorrow's fate can suppress Small Pagoda's fate, he should be able to smoothly make it recognize him as its master. Master, don't worry. The female hammer immediately comforted her. At this moment, Wu Lingfei looked at the restriction-breaking bronze hammer in her hand and asked, What exactly is a fate? The female hammer immediately explained, Fate is also called a fate chart. It is a map of the positions of the stars in the void when a person is born. From this, we can infer a trace of this person's luck and future achievements. Night Sorrow showed his fate to the pagoda in front of him, basically to let the pagoda see his fate, or whether he is a person with great luck. So that's how it is. Then can you see some things in the future from my fate? Wu Lingfei asked curiously. The female hammer denied, I can only see the general pattern. I can't see any details. So that's how it is. Wu Lingfei nodded and once again paid attention to Night Sorrow, secretly praying in her heart. At this moment, Night Sorrow was the same as Small Pagoda, clearly seeing his fate at the same time. However, he could not understand it at all. All he could see was the boundless sea of stars. However, Night Sorrow did not care, because what he cared about was the hard work of the day after tomorrow, and not the arrangement of the heavens. You are a person with great luck. I agree to recognize you as my master. But there is a condition that you need to agree to. Just as Night Sorrow was thinking about his fate, he suddenly heard a voice transmission in his mind. He said uncertainly, You are Small Pagoda? I am not called Small Pagoda, nor am I an imitation of the Eternal Divine Tower. It is the real Eternal Divine Tower. To be exact, it is 1/9 of the Eternal Divine Tower. It's the 7th floor. The seventh floor of the Eternal Divine Tower spoke to Night Sorrow before continuing, I agree to recognize you as my master, but you have to promise me that you'll help me gather the other parts of the tower. The other parts of the pagoda are also of the earthly sovereign level? With my current strength, it should be very difficult for me to do so. However, if you believe me, I will definitely do it for you in the future. Night Sorrow knew that the Eternal Divine Tower was a legendary divine artifact. Gathering all of it would be extremely difficult. I don't know what happened to the other parts of the tower. However, I can sense that they are not in this eternal sovereign realm. The seventh floor of the Eternal Divine Tower continued. Is it the artifact spirit or the pagoda body that's communicating with me? How should I address you? Night Sorrow couldn't sense the artifact spirit on the seventh floor of the Eternal Divine Tower, so he wasn't sure what it was that was communicating with him. I am on the seventh floor of the Eternal Divine Tower. You can just call me Little Seven. The Eternal Divine Tower doesn't have an artifact spirit, but it has a consciousness. Good. From now on, I will call you Little Seven. After letting Little Seven recognize him as its master, Night Sorrow said this and then asked, Little Seven, what abilities do you have? I can use it for battle, cultivation, and also to rapidly increase my strength. The complete body of the Eternal Divine Tower contains the great Tao of heaven and earth. It is a supreme divine artifact. My great Tao is incomplete, but if you cultivate in it, you will still gain a lot. Little Seven said proudly. Hearing this, Night Sorrow immediately asked, What about battle? You'll slowly get to know my combat abilities. At least for now, some of my abilities are far superior to yours. Little Seven said confidently. After saying this, it laughed to itself. I have been silent for countless years. Now that I am able to communicate with someone, this feeling is really not bad. What is your relationship with Yen Hengshi? You should have a certain relationship with him since you are here, right? Night Sorrow thought of Yen Hengshi, who he had encountered before, and immediately asked. Yen Hengshi's original body was one of the first few lives in the Eternal Supreme World. He was also one of the people who established the battle for providence. The essence of this battle for providence is not to let people fight for providence. It is to find geniuses. However, all these years, Yen Hengshi's original body has already fallen. He also did not find the inheritor he was looking for. Shao Qi explained and continued, As for my relationship with him, it's not that simple. It is because he brought me out of the fog by chance back then, and I promised to do something for him. Now, it has already passed the time limit. What was Yen Hengshi's strength at his peak? Everyone said that supreme longevity was the first Earth sovereign in the Eternal Supreme World. Why do I feel that Yen Hengshi was even stronger? Night Sorrow continued to ask in confusion. Little Seven's words made him think of a lot. I'm not sure about this matter, but it is definitely not inferior to an Earth sovereign. After all, Yen Hengshi and the others are the ancestors of everyone in the Eternal Supreme World. Little Seven said very humanely. But we will talk about these things later. Little Seven, cooperate with us to solve the problem in front of us first. At this time, Night Sorrow still wanted to ask some other things, but he felt that Mu Tianai had already changed. He immediately fixed his gaze on him. At this time, Mu Tianai was fighting with the Supreme World, and he had successfully suppressed the Supreme Tribulation Body and was about to advance to the Supreme Stage. Brother Yi, now is a good opportunity. If you kill him directly, our Heavenly Realm territory will be the final champion. Seeing that Mu Tianai was about to become a Supreme Stage and his strength would increase rapidly, Master Wan Jian immediately said anxiously. At this time, he still did not know that Night Sorrow had successfully made Small Tower recognize him as its master, and was a little flustered. Night Sorrow smiled and said, We desire to be the champion, but there is no need to use a sneak attack to win. Let's wait until he advances to the Supreme Stage. After saying this, Night Sorrow summoned Little Seven to his hand and held it while waiting for Mu Tianai to advance. I have finally recovered to the Supreme Stage. About 7 days later, Mu Tianai suddenly looked up at the sky and roared. Then, he floated in the void and looked at Night Sorrow and said, "Night Sorrow, you did something wrong. You should not have given me so much time. If you had attacked me before I started cultivating, our strength would have been on par. But now, you are no longer my opponent. If you had observed carefully, you would not have said that. Don't think that only your strength has increased." Night Sorrow could not help but praise Mu Tiany's powerful aura. He had just advanced to the supreme stage. He gave people the feeling that he was at the peak of the supreme stage, and could be said to be incomparably powerful. Just like Night Sorrow, he was a peerless genius who could fight across realms. However, even though Yi Shang was weaker than him, he wasn't afraid at all. Because Little Seven would cooperate with him in the battle. Genius memorized this site's address in 1 second. Human mobile version reading website. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.